stick with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no? Here we go on with the show, the Hell Bro Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 17 of the Hear Me Out Bro podcast. My name is Clark. I'd like to introduce my brother, Eric.
What's up?
If you want to listen along to the songs that we're going to feature on this week's episode, you can search on YouTube for HMOBP. You can find all our playlists there. Listen along. If you have any questions or comments or reviews or feedback, you can email us at hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com. We'd also appreciate it if you do listen along with the playlists, that if you could drop a comment, tell everybody that the Hear Me Out Bro podcast brought you there. Spread the word organically. We'd really appreciate it. So this week, we're continuing with our Mount Rushmore series. This is our last kind of rock-ish kind of main staple. We're not going to do a flute Mount Rushmore or a trombone Mount Rushmore. We could probably do a harmonica Mount Rushmore, but we figured, the easy ones are vocals, lead guitar, drums, bass, keyboard.
Yeah.
Kind of large pools to draw talent from. We could have had like an other, rock.
Yeah. Maybe we can have like some honorable mention others when we do our final fantasy episode, because that'll be a short one. So we just compile our combinations of nominees.
Like rock flautists and
but I mean, that's a rabbit hole though. Once you go in there, it's like, are you talking about like regular flute, or does that include pan flute?
I think if it has the word flute in it, it's
or recorder.
Oh, see, that's where it gets dicey. We could just have woodwind instruments, brass instruments. Yeah.
Stuff you blow on.
Because, their rock flautist is a thing, I'm sure there's like a prog marimba talent pool.
Well, yeah. The marimba players and xylophone players in Frank Zappa's band.
Best
Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, flouting it up.
Flouting his talent. Flouting his aqua lungs.
Shouting and flouting.
Yeah. What was the other one I was thinking of?
Percussion.
Oh, best pop tambourine performance.
Oh, yeah.
And the nominees are David Cassidy, Anyata.
No, who was like the loser little kid on the Partridge Family that couldn't even play anything, so they gave him a tambourine. And even Danny Bonaducci got to play.
It's true.
A bass. I don't know if he really played it. Maybe he did. I don't know. Hopefully he didn't come after me.
Oh, man. It wasn't Cousin Charlie?
No, it was one of the kids. Like the two little kids. There's like the boy and the girl. They're like background singers, but they were just...
I'm kidding.
I don't know why they even...
Wasn't Cousin Charlie on the Brady Bunch? Yeah.
That's the Brady Bunch. Yeah, the little kid that looked like John Denver, kind of. Yeah, what was that guy's deal?
I don't know. It's like...
Where is he now? Where are you, Cousin Charlie?
Third season edition.
So keyboards. Yeah. Well, even keyboards is kind of a thing, like I had to end up breaking it up into like piano, like regular piano players, organ players, synthesizer players, electric piano players.
See, I wanted like I wanted an even bigger tent, but Eric said no. I wanted to include accordions, which then I could throw some of my. Then there are some hills I could die on if we had accordions.
Well, we'll have a separate accordion episode. That they're kind of their own thing. And guitar, it's like, do we have in the keyboard episode or do we have in the guitar episode? And it's a guitar.
Well, I think anything with a keyboard, it has keys, it could be added. Although you did bring up hurdy-gurdy. Hurdy-gurdies have a keyboard, but it's more like a trombone kind of thing. Like I think the open and closes valves or like mute strings or something. It's not really like you're playing notes on it. It's like you're isolating things with the keyboard.
Yeah, it also changes the pitches of some of the strings. So it's almost like you're fingering the string with the buttons. And it's muting some strings.
Yeah, it does.
They're quite a contraption.
Yeah, so basically, if it has a keyboard, I wanted to include it. If it has a crank, it doesn't. So, like, an organ, yes. An organ grinder, no.
Well, laptops have keyboards, so I guess we could have a bunch of, like, EDM
that's true.
artists on here.
I hadn't thought about that.
But, I mean, I decided not to include EDM in this, like laptop keyboards, because if you would like, you can just go listen to my EDM podcast.
And I conceded because, as we all know, accordion players look better cast in bronze than carved into stone. So.
That's true.
Yeah,
in the town square. Yeah.
If you're from Sonoma County, you might get that reference. If you're from Patati, you definitely get that reference.
Yeah, man.
If you share a zip code with one of the hosts of this podcast, you might have an idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right. I'm starting off with the killer, Jerry Lee Lewis. Whole lot of shaking going on. How come singers don't do that little...
I don't know.
How come they don't do stuff like that anymore?
I don't know. Different drugs.
I don't know either.
Different drugs.
Maybe some of them do.
These days.
Maybe. Yeah. One of a kind. Jerry Lee Lewis. Wild man. One of the early rock and roll wild men. For all the pearl clutchers that thought Elvis was too, like, sexual.
Right.
You get a guy that's like singing about shaking and just like going nuts and like marries his 13-year-old second cousin and it's like maybe Elvis didn't need to make all those gospel records to clean up his image.
Just had to wait till Jerry Lewis got worse. Jerry Lee Lewis.
Make Elvis look like a saint. But yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis is cool. But sticking with piano, did you have anything else to add about like the early days of rock and roll? I mean, we could add Little Richard on here
Richard
too.
Was gonna be...
Fats Domino or... Yeah.
Two of my honorable mentions for sure.
Kind of evolving that honky tonk, like New Orleans kind of piano. This next piano player, he played that stuff really good, and he played kind of not so much the Jerry Lee Lewis stuff, but just that really cool, like Fats Domino kind of style, but like even dressed it up more and had like classical chops in there too. This next one is Billy Payne with Little Feat, and it's Dixie Chicken. Just check out that piano in this. Yeah, I had to say like check out the piano on this because there's some distractions in that video.
Yeah, I got distracted by quite a bit of it.
Yeah. Talk about shaking a
Well,
tambourine.
and I know everybody or a lot of people, the majority of people suffer from like some degree of imposter syndrome. You familiar with that that term and
Oh, yeah.
that site?
Oh, yeah. I've suffered from it myself a few times.
Yeah, you always feel like you're like in the wrong place and like I'm way out over my skis here. How like psychotically confident in your own abilities do you have to be to get Emmylou Harris and Bonnie Raitt to sing backup for you while you sing about Dixie Chickens? Like
Yeah.
what? Can I can I have
Yeah, Lil George was so cool.
like a tenth of a percent of that guy's self confidence? Like holy crap.
Oh, man. Yeah, and he's wearing overalls and playing with a 3/4 inch Craftsman's like long socket for his slide. But this is a keyboard episode. So Billy Payne, man, like some of the like he'll do the whole like down the keyboard like slide thing, but there's notes in it, you know, and just the way he just rolls out the chords and stuff. Yeah, that guy's amazing. There's longer versions where he does piano solos and things, but I love this video for whole lot of reasons.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know, we might have to do like a whole episode about Burt Sugarman. Like,
oh man, yeah.
How many times have you like gone to look for something, or like, you know, you get the midnight special like in your YouTube algorithm, and like you get more and more stuff in your feed. It's like, oh yeah, I'll watch that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, holy crap! Like those people played together.
Oh man.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm a little bit addicted to stuff like that. Like have a feed for top of the pops.
What's the
have
Beat
a feed
Club?
Have a feed for midnight
the
special.
Beat Club? What was the?
Oh yeah, Beat Club.
Yeah,
the German one. Yeah, they used to have everything up, but they took it down for a while. But some of their stuff's back on now. But some stuff you can't find anymore for Beat Club. I think they had some copyright thing happen. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. You know, like I watch them with my daughter. It's like, hey, come on, it's 1976. Come listen to Top of the Pops with me. It's like, you know, music used to be better than it is now. Well, there's great music now, but like, look how cool music used to be.
Yeah, and there's like, you can always tell when like they're actually performing on stage. Like it might not be perfect and like and stuff, and then you can also tell when they're like Top of the Pops famously never let the artist play live. We're always like lip
so
lip syncing and stuff.
Off
so
running around.
Like I know we've talked a lot about Iron Maiden last episode, but like if you need another reason to love Iron Maiden, look up Iron Maiden on Top of the Pops. It's spectacular. Like they just like they stop playing, they switch guitars, like they are goofing off.
Yeah, I love that honky tonk like New Orleans kind of piano. I didn't also, same like with the bass players, I did not include jazz keyboard or piano players. You know, we don't, I mean, I guess we could have had Herbie Hancock on here if we really wanted to, you know, like his rock stuff. But, and yeah, maybe he should be, you know, like some Headhunters or something. But I mean, it's like Oscar Peterson is like the best piano player like ever. But, you know, I'm not going to have Oscar Peterson on here. But this next guy is like another jazz pianist I really like is Thelonious Monk, because he just plays like this kind of sparse stuff. Like if you know music, like he'll play these sparse things, but it's like it's genius what he's doing. And this next guy is like has a little bit of that Thelonious Monk vibe to him, but he's also got like a little bit of Jerry Lee Lewis, and like, but he's also kind of his own thing. So this is Terry Adams with NRBQ, and this song is "Want You to Feel Good Too." Why play with your fingers when an elbow will do just as good? Oh, man. Yeah, that guy's nuts. So cool. Yeah, some people, you get so good at your instrument, you just kind of like throw out the instruction manual, you know? It's just like, you just play what you feel. And like, yeah, it's just like hardwired into you. You just like let it come natural and play what you feel. And like if you make mistakes, it's like you just play it with conviction or
what's the deal with that
intention.
band? Because like I've known a couple people that were like diehard fans.
Oh yeah, they're kind of one of those cult following bands where like you're not going to really hear them on the radio. Well, during the 80s, you'd hear them a little bit, you know, especially like in Sonoma County.
Right.
And they had a few like kind of minor hits, but you know, they're like a underground, like college radio kind of, not even college radio, but like cool community radio kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, they like their live concerts, like their live shows were not quite like the Grateful Dead because they would just play little clubs and stuff. They weren't like a big arena festival band.
Right.
But it's like when they come through town, you go see them. And they would do this thing where they'd have a box with like a big question mark on it. And you would just like put what song you wanted them to play on there. And they'd pull it out like between songs and go, okay, let's consult the box. And they'd like pull out like whatever song they pulled out, they'd have to play.
Whoa.
Yeah. Just like winging it like off the top of their head.
Interesting. That's kind of cool. So it's kind of like, I don't know,
interactive a little bit.
Yeah.
Fun and
or like, showmanship kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they're just so animated and they're having a good time and they're just, you know, spreading the joy.
Nice. Okay. I could get behind that.
And and like the great Al Anderson on guitar. What a great guitar player. And he would tune his top string down super low. That's why he was doing like all those weird bends and, you know, like almost like baritone guitar lines.
Yeah.
But like kind of his own thing.
Weird.
Yeah, they're just all really unique, but they sounded good and they were like interesting to watch because you never knew what was going to happen, kind of.
Right.
Because they're just goofing off, kind of.
That's cool. Okay. I get it. Yeah, because it's like that's not really the kind of genre of music that I like gravitate towards. But like, yeah, that's why I asked that. It was like, okay, why have I known really committed fans of this band?
Yeah.
Why do they have a cult following? And that explains it. It's like, that actually sounds really entertaining. So
yeah, like you know, they'd play at like the Katati Cabaret or something, and you know, you'd just be hanging out in there with a bunch of other people dancing and like laughing at their antics and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
I can dig it.
But they weren't like fart smeller antics. You know, they were just goofball antics. They weren't like Frank Zappa, like, well, I'm a genius and this is my sense of humor. You know, it's like they were like more like, you know, there's people that are like mental geniuses And then there's like athletes that are like physical geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were like physical geniuses on their respective instruments, where they could just like pound away and wail away, and it would come out sounding harmonious.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And they have good songs and cool records, and yeah, we'll have an NRBQ episode. But yeah, I mean, as far as keyboards, like, yeah, nobody would dare play like that for fear of like, not being able to pull it off, or like,
Right.
It's just conviction. I love that part where he does that really like dissonant rundown and stuff, and he like screws up his lips. It's like he's meaning to like he knows exactly what he wants to do. He's just expressing like, I'm going to play something really weird right now,
Right.
but it's going to work. Yeah.
Nice.
We always used to talk about it like in the way of shooting pool, like playing cue ball or whatever.
Right.
Like you can either be like the total like uppity anal guy where it's like you call all your shots and you're playing exactly like how you planned it, and you're like setting up the shots, and like, like you see guys doing competition, or you can just like hit the brake as hard as you can and see how many balls fall in, like,
right.
Yeah. And that's kind of how these guys are. It's like, we used to call it sloppy pool or dirty pool, like you're not like, oh, we're playing 8-ball and oh, you hit the striped ball, so now it's my turn. It's like, no, it's like, hey, watch this. I'm going to make 3 of them going in with one shot, kind of stuff. Anyways, musical metaphors.
Yep.
Okay, so that's piano. Piano's a cool instrument. The right hands. Like all pianos sound the same, it's not like guitars that sound the same. Well, there's pianos that sound different. There's like the honky tonk piano, or like the upright pianos sound different than a baby grand or a grand piano, but they all sound like piano, more or less. It's not like, oh, well, that's a Moog and that's a Prophet 5, or that's a Roland Juno, or, a Yamaha DX7, or like with guitar, oh, that's a Fender, that's a Les Paul. It's like,
right.
Piano's piano. So it's all about like your intention and like your skill level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause aren't they all like kind of tuned the same and stuff?
Yeah. Piano's piano. It's kind of unforgiving. So it's more about how you approach it. This is Jan Hammer with Mahavishnu Orchestra. You know.
Yeah.
I know this kind of stuff isn't your cup of tea, but like I love like just that refrain they keep going to, and there's all these like time subdivisions. It's like it's slow, but then there's all this fast like riffage like in between, and it just repeats, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do next? Dun 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 boom boom boom. Like Billy Cobham's like doing all these crazy subdivision time stuff, and
yeah,
I love Mahavishnu Orchestra. They're like, I don't know.
I can understand why. It's
like a brain massage when I listen to them.
Like, when you go, like everybody's house has like a particular smell. And like you don't think your own house has a smell unless like, but it does, because you're just
you go away for a while and you come home. It's like, oh, this is what my house smells like.
Right. Yeah, like a fresh perspective. But like, like at first I was going to say, like, when you go to somebody's house and they eat a lot of lentils, and like that lentil smell kind of sticks around for a long time. But it's less that, and it's more like, did you ever have friends who like they were still in high school, but they had turned 18 or whatever, and they moved out, of their folks' house, and like a bunch of them had gotten an apartment together, and they were heavy weed users. So like in their late teens, early 20s, they were like heavy weed users, and you'd go over there, and it would be like that lingering, like cheap marijuana smell, like soaked into the like carpet and the
like
furniture and
the
stuff.
spilled, the kicked over bong water into the carpet thing.
Yeah, or just kind of that like stale, cheap weed smell.
Yeah,
Like
bowls of cereal left out.
yeah.
And
Well, not
yeah.
it's not gross. It's just kind of that like old weed smell. And it's
yeah,
like
like the baked in just from the smoke.
yeah, exactly.
Like you go into a smoker's house and it's like nicotine stains and
Yeah, like the
that
windows are all
ashtray smell.
yeah, and the windows are all like
Yeah, but there's
yellow
one
tar.
there is that for pot too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It's like
or
this
that like,
oily, like
yeah, that resiny smell.
yeah.
And like that's the musical equivalent of that smell. Of just like
Yeah, it's a little more mushroom forest for me.
yeah,
Like
mushroom forest for me is like is a little more organic and less like I don't know, less contrived, less concentrated, I guess.
yeah.
Like mushroom forest has that kind of again
Yeah, I
another
was
kind of bean food hummus.
yeah.
But, you know, like the forest hummus. Like, you know, that,
Yeah,
that
well, these
mulchy
guys
smell.
probably like sat around and meditated and stuff, and yeah, there's probably like some incense like mixed in there
Right.
too. Incense and sandal smell, like there's sandalwood, and then there's like sandal feet smell.
Ugh. But yeah, no, it totally reminded me of like that smell where it's like, yeah, if you're not around this all the time, it's got a bit of a wang to it. Like, okay,
Oh, it's fully wang.
yeah. Like I guess if you're
But
living that lifestyle, like you're used to it and you're fine with it, but if you're not, it's like, whew, let's open some doors and windows, maybe. Like
yeah,
get some
it's not that much of an
here.
adjustment for me to like jump into Mahavishnu. It's like it's kind of like the deep end of a pool, you know. It's like going off the high dive into the deep end. It's like you got to be kind of ready for it.
Fair.
I was debating, I put this one because I love Mahavishnu Orchestra and I love this particular song too. But also I was thinking about putting the theme from Miami Vice. Like Jan Hammer has like his official Miami Vice soundtrack video where it's him like in a suit with a briefcase, like escaping from Crockett and Tubbs through the whole video.
Oh man.
And he gets away. He gets in a helicopter and like Crockett pulls out his 45 or his 1911 or whatever. And he's like ready to shoot the helicopter, but it's like, nah, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Next time.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's pretty silly.
I mean, that's Jan Hammer, you know, it's like he did that. He played on Wired with Jeff Beck. He played on Billy Cobham's Spectrum that we heard on the drum episode.
Right.
And then he did all that Miami Vice stuff and a bunch of TV soundtracks, which is not my favorite stuff, but he was one of those brains that could like figure out those early like computer sequencer things. And,
right.
Yeah. Samples and whatever. It's like, yeah, I mean, he's a total jazzer. Yeah, he's like a fusion-y jazz guy. He's into the technology too.
Or it's like the guy from NRBQ, like it has mastered, you know, there's like getting to that level where you master the keyboard.
Yeah.
And so he's not limited by the keyboard. Whereas like Jan Hammer was like limited by the keyboard. And like it wasn't until like synthesizer stuff and like computer control boards and stuff came out that it was like, oh, I'm no longer limited to just the keyboard.
Right. Like in that particular solo there, he moves over to the little synthesizer,
right,
and starts doing all the little like pitch bends and stuff, and you know, which you can't do on a piano.
No,
you can't bend a note on a piano.
Right. where it's like, yeah, he's just such a like musical big brain. Like,
Yeah. Although
oh,
I heard before we move off from pianos, well, we've already moved off from pianos, but before we get too far away from the piano thing, I did hear David used to live behind this guy who was a classical pianist. I can't remember his name, but he was like the big classical pianist guy that everybody knew in Santa Rosa. And you would hear him practicing runs up and down the piano.
Mhm.
And it would be so fast and so fluid that you couldn't distinguish the notes. That's the only time I've ever heard a pianist do that, where it just sounded like the pitch was bending and
Whoa.
like going up and down. You know, it was almost like a theremin or something,
Right.
but it was a piano. And a piano is a percussion instrument,
Yeah.
technically, because it's
It has
hammers hitting
yeah.
strings. But he could play so fast and fluid up and down arpeggios and scales that would just sound like, you know, it would just move around like
constant
that.
sound instead of individual notes being hammered out.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I was going to
crazy.
David's house and I just heard him playing in his house, like with the window open. It's like, whoa.
Right.
Musically, yeah, you are kind of limited to the piano with what the piano can do.
Right.
Okay, and this next guy kind of like pushed the boundaries of what you could do with keyboards. This is Keith Emerson with Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, and the song is Knife Edge. Oh, man. I was laughing through that whole thing because I know it's just like you probably feel like you're in for a teeth cleaning or something.
It's not that bad. It's just like, you know how like guitar players will like throw out pick out into the audience. Like, did that guy throw out like furniture movers? Like,
No.
So felt pads. Like,
no, I don't think so. But he would have knives on stage, and he would like stab the keyboard. Like if he wanted like to hold a note down, he'd like stab a knife and like wedge it in between the keys and stuff.
Whoa.
So it would like keep playing that note. And like he had that one little side like Hammond spinet organ, and like those things aren't very light, but you know he's like bashing around so the reverb tank is crashing and stuff. And he would also reach in because the way a Hammond organ works, it has a tone wheel that has a motor that spins all the tones. And then there's like a reader that reads like the number of frequencies for that number of times the wheel goes around.
Okay.
It's called a tone wheel organ. And he would reach in the back and like slow down the tone wheel. So it would go, you know, like kind of bend the pitch that way.
Right.
And, you know, he'd pull the thing over and play it backwards and stick knives in it and stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate like the mad scientist like aspect of that.
Oh, when he gets on the synthesizer thing.
Yeah, where he's like
patching cables and
well, and then just like now I'm going to do this thing. Now I'm going to break this thing apart and you know, touch the insides of it. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
but
when he was a great player too.
Yeah,
and I mean a great band. I mean those guys are all just top of their game
for sure. Yeah, like their sound kind of reminds me a lot of like Mark I, Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Like kind of, it still has a lot of that like heavy blues vibe to it with like crazy organ faffing.
Yeah. Their album covers were also like the early adopters of the H.R. Geiger artwork, like before Aliens came along.
Right.
That's kind of how you were exposed to Geiger's. Some of their album covers, like Brain Salad Surgery, stuff like that. Yeah, one of my favorite bands from when I was a kid that is still entertaining. I love the way the guy sings.
Right.
And he was also in King Crimson. And Carl Palmer, before he was in Emerson, Lake and Palmer, he was in Atomic Rooster.
Right.
As the drummer. Before Rick Parnell. Or Nick Parnell. Or whoever the other Parnells are that blew up in Spinal Tap.
Oh, right.
Became the drummer for Atomic Rooster. Yeah. Another great drummer. But okay, so well, we're not out of the prog woods yet.
No, but this is a little more like I purposely said Mark 1 Deep Purple because
Yeah.
you know, like that then they changed and like
Well, and like
kind of
John
became
Lord
something
was
different.
Oh yeah, Mark II with Gillen instead of Rod Evans.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, great singer.
I got confused because the one after this is also a Rod. And yeah. Enough excuses for my dementia.
Thankfully we're not at dementia level yet. We're just
But yeah, this is another guy that pushed the Hammond organ into new territories besides just playing church hymns by old ladies.
Mm-hmm.
This is John Lord with Deep Purple and Highway Star. This guy's a rule.
Completely. So there's so much that we need to talk about, but like
oh, absolutely. I had like
foremost
a list of things forming.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Same. Like the transition from the solos back to the chorus, like literally sounds like shifting gears.
Yeah.
Like they're like metaphorically shifting gears, and it sounds like they're shifting gears. Like it's like I'm a highway star.
Yeah. It modulates from one key to another, kind of.
Yeah.
Like the to get into the solo and then to come back out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I even forgot to have Ian Pace as one of my honorable mentions on the drum episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oversight by me.
Yeah.
Apologize for that.
Yeah, there's just so many. Like,
I'd like to add him as an honorable mention. And we should have had Roger Glover on the bass player episode. I mean, these guys deserve to be one of those bands where they all just got mentioned. We talked about Richie. We talked about
we talked
Ian
about
Gillen.
Yeah, we talked about in last episode. Like John Paul Jones was one of your honorable mentions, and it's like phenomenal bass player. But it's like, well, you're sorry, you're in a band with John Bonham. Like,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like being a bright and shining star, but you're in a band with the sun. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So Deep Purple, like, holy crap! Like, especially Mark II, like everybody is just top of their game.
Great songs, just like the perfect alchemy.
Yeah. They were just all on fire, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're what more?
Yeah, the whole Beatles Stones thing, like. Who's the best band, is Beatles or the Stones?
Right.
For me, it's like, no, Deep Purple. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more things, like just a quick gear foray. Gear time. It's tone time with Eric. So Roger Glover.
Welcome to Eric's Gear Closet.
Yeah. The gear corner.
Do you want a cabinet closet?
Cabinet corner.
Cabinet corner.
Okay. No, I'm going to talk about cabinets here. Okay. So Roger Glover playing a Rickenbacker through Marshalls Same thing Lemmy was playing through yesterday.
Yep.
But Lemmy turns his all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're playing the same gear, but it's a different sound between the two of them. It's both great sounds.
Right.
Both the same gear, but two different great sounds you can get with that gear. And also, I forgot to mention yesterday, Steve Harris, he plays bass through Marshall cabinets. He uses a different amplifier, but he plays bass through Marshall cabinets. But he doesn't play the 415s like Roger and Lemmy did. He plays the 412, like the guitar cabinets that guitar players play through. But he puts EV speakers, EVM 12Ls, if you want to know which model, instead of the Celestion speakers that typically come in a Marshall. So that's a big part of Steve Harris's bass tone is the 412 Marshall cabinet with EVM speakers, which are really clean, high power handling speakers, so they don't distort or break up like they do for, like the Celestians do for Lemmy, or like they do for guitar players,
right,
when they play the Celestians.
Okay.
And one more cabinet tie-in is Zach Wild also plays Marshall cabinets with EVM 12Ls in them, like Steve Harris does, but he plays guitar through them.
Interesting.
And they're also super efficient. Like Celestion speakers, like 96 to 98 dB. Some of the newer ones are maybe up to 99. But the EVs, well, and when I say that, it's decibels per meter per watt. So 1 watt going into one of those speakers measured at 1 meter will put out that number of decibels. And the EV speakers are really efficient. They have a huge magnet on them, a really efficient motor with the coil and everything. So they put out 102 decibels per watt per meter. So they're quite a bit louder. And every time you add another speaker, you're adding 3 dB. You don't double the sound. You don't get double the decibels. You just add 3 dB for every doubling. Okay. So if you go from like 50 watts to 100 watts, that's 3 dB louder. If you go from 1 speaker to 2 speakers, that's 3 dB louder. If you go from 2 speakers to 4 speakers, that's 3 dB louder. So, so 100 watt Marshall through 2 412 cabinets is pretty stinking loud, even with the Celestians in them.
Right.
So anyways, enough about bass cabinets. I just remembered I wanted to talk about Steve Harris using 412 Marshall cabinets instead of bass guitar cabinets, but with the EV speakers, because I think that's kind of a big part of the sound that he gets.
Okay.
Because everybody plays a P bass, but they don't sound like Steve Harris.
Right.
Except for that guy in Ghost. I'm wondering what his gear is. But they won't tell you who they are, so I can't find out what the guy's playing.
Mm-mm.
Come on.
It's part of
At least tell us what gear you're using.
Nope. And like famously, whenever one of the ghouls would give it an interview, it would actually be Tobias Forge. Like,
oh, really?
It would just be that guy.
He just fills in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and also with the Marshall amplifiers, that's the other tie-in I wanted to do, is that John Lord, instead of playing through a Leslie cabinet like most Hammond organ players do, he played through Marshall stacks also. So his Hammond organ was coming out of Marshall stacks.
Dang.
So everybody, except for the vocals and the drums and Deep Purple, was coming through a cranked up Marshall.
Yikes.
So that's why sometimes when you're listening to Deep Purple, it's like,
it's hard to
tell. Is that Richie Blackmore or is that John Lord?
Yeah, hard to tell between the guitar and the organ. Yeah. Yeah, you pointed out that out to me like decades ago. It was like, oh, yeah.
Which is really cool. It's like, why get a rhythm guitar player?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you can do so much more with a Hammond organ.
Yeah, and I don't think Richie could have. I don't think he could have stood having another guitar player in the band.
Stepping on his toes.
He would have thrown his pilgrim hat on the ground and
totally
walked out.
But yeah,
stomped on his pilgrim hat stomped on his pilgrim buckled hat with his pilgrim buckled shoes and stormed out the room.
Man. Yeah.
We love you, Richie Blackmore.
Totally. But what an eccentric, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was the other thing. And it's like, I know like John Lord was like founding member or one of the founding members. Like contrast being in a band with John Bonham. And it's like, oh, right. We totally forgot about, or, you know, we add John Paul Jones at the end as an honorable mention. Like,
yeah,
you're in a band with Richie Blackmore, one of like the greatest guitar players of all time. But like, well, you get your solo after I get my solo.
Right.
Like, I'll do my solo, then we'll have a chorus, then you can do your solo.
Well, yeah, you say that because you're the music enjoyer. I'm like the music, like pick apart the music nerdiness.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think it was so much that John Lord got to go first. I think Richie saw it as he was batting cleanup, kind of, you know? Like, yeah, I get the final solo or the last word kind of thing.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
So might not be, oh yeah, we got to put the best first. Richie might have been just like, well, I'm batting cleanup, of course, because I hit a home run every time.
Fair. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. But like, just knowing the mind of Richie Blackmore, I think it might be the latter.
You can claim to know the mind of Richie Blackmore, but do you really know the mind of Richie Blackmore?
No one really knows the mind of Richie Blackmore. Not even Richie Blackmore.
Nope. Yeah, John Lord. What a mountain of talent.
Well, and until he passed away, he was like the only like continuous member.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, Deep Purple was John Lord. You know, like what we talk about with how we select people. Deep Purple went on when Richie left, and Deep Purple went on when Ian left. Deep Purple went on when Roger Glover left.
Yep.
Ian Pace was there the whole time. It probably couldn't have been the same without Ian Pace also, which is why didn't I include him in the drum episode? He's also a fellow lefty.
Nice.
So, yeah, John Lord, Ian Pace are Deep Purple. They're the two like key elements. If you take them out, it's not Deep Purple anymore. Yeah. As much fanfare as Richie gets for being Richie.
Yeah, and what a phenomenal singer Ian Gillan was too. Like,
oh man, I love that song. You know, it's like the whole muscle car, you know, sexual innuendo.
Yeah, and then the lyrics,
you know,
the lyrics are kind of dumb too. Like,
but beautifully dumb. It's like sometimes I feel dumb, and I listen to stuff like that, and it makes me feel like I'm not dumb. I'm normal.
Right. You know what I mean? They're not Neil Peart lyrics. Like,
no.
Yeah.
Oh, and like last night I turned you on to Midnight Chaser.
Yeah.
It's like there would not have been a Midnight Chaser without a Highway Star. You know, it's all about, oh, I want your hands on my load.
Mm-hmm. Man.
All about like grab onto my shifter or whatever this is.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, this is like total bonehead lyrics. But like, you know, appealing to that like 15-year-old long-haired dude that's like gonna buy your album.
Right. And then like we talked about adding Freddie Mercury to this and like why we didn't, like after recording the other night, we're talking about Freddie Mercury and like, oh, why didn't we add him to the vocals podcast? Like that was an oversight. It's like, I love when Queen does a song like that where you're just like, I'm in love with my car. Like they're kind of lampooning songs like hot rod innuendo songs. It's just like, I'm in love with my car.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, like, technology is great and the world has advanced a lot, but I kind of, maybe it's just because I'm an old dude, but I kind of wish like we were back in the era where like cars were made to look like women's bodies. They put big motors in them, and cars had haunches and stuff, you know, and big fat tires and everything.
And everything. Driving power.
Yeah. I mean, cars now kind of have everything, but not the everything that I would want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they have
You know?
sat nav and like touch screens.
Cup holders and
yeah.
touch screens and USB ports and yeah.
Yeah, which are all nice, but you know, it's like those are nice if the car's driving for you.
Yeah, I can charge my phone and not spill my latte. It's like,
What more do you
this
need?
car has everything.
Man.
It's like, no, I want a 8-track tape player and fuzzy dice and sheepskin seat covers and mag wheels. One of those cast, like, hang 10-foot gas pedals.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the barefoot
like,
pedal. Yeah, I want all
yeah.
of that except for the fuzzy dice. I think fuzzy dice are dumb.
Maybe a CB radio.
Oh yeah, CB radio.
Well, maybe not fuzzy dice, but maybe like a Muppet with like a cool like ZZ Top hat and sunglasses and like Velcro hands that you keep in the trunk. So when you go to the car show, you put it in the driver's seat, so it's like hanging onto the steering wheel and stuff. So you have like the little like car show Muppet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. We both spent more than enough time at car shows. Yeah, I kind of like that, like the lowrider, like the tricked out Impala dudes, like didn't go for a lot of that stuff. Like, because a lot of that stuff was like, what's happening here? Like to me,
well, I don't know. They kind of did though too. You know, like disco balls and fake fur. There's as much fake fur at a old lowrider car show than there is.
Well, yeah, old lowrider car shows, but like if you go to like an Impala meetup now, there's way less of that like weird 70s stuff, and it's more just like, yeah, we have a big trunk, so like we have like custom lawn chairs that like match our car and like a cooler and like, you know,
yeah,
when your car's got a huge trunk, it's like, oh dude, like you're set up for it's half of it is like you're set up for like the meet. Like
yeah,
like you're there and it's like, hey, we got like the pop-up awning, like we're good to go. Like
yeah, like car culture is so cool because like you can find your niche like kind of anywhere. You know, there's the van people,
right?
There's the there's the overlander guys now. There's the rock crawlers. There's the mud pickup Trump flag dudes who don't go in the mud that much.
Yeah.
Although like we have these big dips here on our road because we're like kind of out in the country and like the county doesn't want to build bridges because it's not really worth it out here.
Right. Not enough traffic.
So like when we get a ton of rain like we did last week, you can hear all the like yahoos and their big giant lifted trucks like
splashing through, like,
water to ford through.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, we
get some splash pics for the gram.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were talking about flooding the other night, like I have this big field, like empty field with like a bunch of trees and grass and stuff next to me. And it floods and like it's where all the frogs breed and stuff. And like occasionally somebody will like take their truck out there and get stuck because it's like it's all just mud. Like you ain't getting through. Yeah, it's like so funny that like, yeah, you got this big jacked up pickup truck, but it's like, yeah, no, you're getting stuck. But like a couple times we've come home and somebody in another truck has like a tow chain, and it's like there's like a
So
cul-de-sac.
now there are two of them stuck.
Well, there's like a cul-de-sac on the other side of the street, and so they've got like the tow chain stretched across the road, and it's like, dude, you can't do that.
Right.
Like you're presenting a hazard to people that are actually not yahoos. Like,
Yeah, get a winch on your truck
yeah,
instead of, like if you're serious about off-roading and you're not just like a driveway queen and you
yeah,
want to like feel like superior like to everybody
yeah,
by sitting up higher in traffic. It's like get a winch to pull your buddies out when they're stupid.
yeah, yeah.
Don't hang out with people who get stuck.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm guilty of like 4x4 culture, and like I used to have a big Ford F350 with big tires on it stuff, but it's like we could get stranded in here and need to get out and have to go through those dips.
right.
Not that we would ever want to, but if we needed to.
Right.
And then, sometimes I would have to like tow something or pull something or
Right.
or go somewhere where you can't really go there in a car. Or
Right. But like you said,
something.
if you're
Yeah.
serious about off-roading, get a winch. Like, yeah, one
Yeah.
of the times I was with some friends and the truck got stuck. I was not driving. It wasn't a park ranger because it wasn't park. It was like BLM land, but it was like some, ranger type dude in a little Ford Ranger pickup truck with a winch. And it pulled this huge, like, Dodge Dually pickup truck out sideways.
Oh man.
This little Ford Ranger on the gravel road with the e-brake on and the winch, just like,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
Nice.
I don't care how big your, like, whatever Chevy, jacked up Chevy truck with the big fat tires on. Like, yeah, it might be real.
Well, if you know
It
how
might
to
be really
drive, you don't
lifted,
need all that stuff.
but it's, yeah, it ain't pulling your friend's truck out
right.
with a tow chain. You don't have
Oh,
enough
man.
torque, dude. Come on. You're just creating a hazard for the rest of us. Like, are you trying?
Or if the guy who got stuck had a winch, he could have pulled himself out.
Exactly.
Seen it many times. It's like, oh, now you made my day worse because I have to help you for being stupid.
Right.
Jump in with my dumb segment.
Sure.
Okay, we're doing another like disjointed episode here, like we did last time because the internet and the power went out. But this time we just simply ran out of time. So we're covering the second half of this episode starting now. And I have a little segment I want to throw in called Mystery Solved.
Whoa.
So we were at the top of the episode wondering, pontificating, if you will, about Cousin Oliver.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, Robert Rist, a.k.a. Cousin Oliver, is alive and well.
Right.
So not only was he Cousin Oliver and on a few other TV shows at the time, Big John, Little John, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, he was also the voice of Michelangelo in all the Mutant Ninja Turtle films.
Whoa. All of them?
And
I don't think it was all of them.
like all three of them.
What? No.
Yeah. And since this is a music podcast, and this is like a truth is stranger than fiction kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Cousin Oliver, one, he does the voice for Michelangelo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films. And two, he happens to be a singer and multi-instrumentalist and has played in a number of bands and has produced albums for people, including the Rubinoos. And he also made the theme song and the music for, along with the director, he made the theme song and the music for the Sharknado franchise. So if you enjoy the Sharknado films, the music you're enjoying is Cousin Oliver. Or if you like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films.
Well, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films from the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, A, there have been more than 4, and then B, they've had several reboots. So,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, that's all on his. He's a pretty prolific.
Are you fact checking me?
Well,
don't worry. Our podcast is fact check. Sometimes right in the middle of the episode.
Both of us going to Wikipedia because we don't really care that much. Yeah.
So anyways,
it's all on there.
We no longer have to wonder about Cousin Oliver.
Although you buried the lead. I mean, if you remember, if you're a child of the 70s, you might remember Cousin Oliver, much like, he went on to do some pretty cool stuff, prolific voice actor, etc. He seems like he might be a cool guy. He, much like on Happy Days, like the water skiing episode, and like Fonzie jumped a shark on water skis. It gave rise to the term jumping the shark.
I thought he jumped it on his motorcycle. There
was
a shark
water
in a
skis.
tank.
Maybe.
I remember there was a water ski episode.
Maybe he did it on a motorcycle. I don't know. But like Fonzie jumping the shark was like the moment when everybody realized that like it's all downhill from here. Like this is the last highlight of this show.
Right.
Gave rise to that term, jumping the shark. And
right.
So Cousin Oliver, Robert Rist, playing Cousin Oliver on the Brady Bunch, gave rise to the term the Cousin Oliver syndrome, also known as add a kid, where it's like, all right, we gotta goose up this cast of characters a little bit. Let's add another kid.
Oh man,
like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah,
like all our cute child actors are like now like pimply teenagers now. They're all awkward now. Let's add another cute kid.
On the topic of child actors, adding another kid, et cetera, I need to fact check myself. Well, the youngest kid in Partridge Family was the girl who played Tamarine, and the youngest boy, like the second youngest, who was a boy, didn't play the drums, but sat at a drum set while they recorded their little music videos and faked it. But so anyways, I was kind of looking down my nose at that kid. There was 2 kids though that played the second oldest, but the first of the young Chris Partridge or whatever was this guy Jeremy Gelbwaks, and this is right off his Wikipedia page. Says, according to his Partridge Family castmate David Cassidy, Gelbwaks had a personality conflict with every person in the cast and with the producers.
Whoa.
Shirley Jones mentioned that Gelbwaks was not happy doing the show. His parents wanted him to do it, so he replaced him.
Yikes.
Yeah. So, nobody really cared for poor Jeremy Gelbwaks.
Well, it sounds like
wasn't quite as adorable as Cousin Oliver, or even the replacement Chris Partridge.
Right.
He was also terrible at drums.
He was also doing it under duress. It's like if your parents are forcing you to do it, like how much enthusiasm here are you gonna be able to muster?
Yeah, but I think about when you were a kid, it's like to not enjoy being on a TV show, like you would have to be like in brat mode.
Yeah, but it's like you also have to realize, like, we grew up outside of like Southern California and like the LA and Burbank area. So like we weren't really exposed to that. So like it seems like a dream that it's like, oh man, it'd be
Well,
so
maybe he
cool. You get
felt
to
it was
meet movie
beneath him.
stars and stuff. Or maybe it just like
Maybe he felt it. Maybe he felt it. The part was beneath him. You know, like I should be doing like King Lear or something instead
well,
of playing this dumb like
it's like a
fake
6-year-old.
drummer.
That's probably not the case. But
But
it was
it's
probably
possible.
like, hey, you're a cute kid. Like we're gonna make money off you. Like force you to do commercials and stuff. And
Well, but that's
like
the hitch.
if the parents were forcing
He
him
was
to
not
do
a
it,
cute kid.
well, all the more reason.
Oh wait, I forgot about like our number one rule that we weren't going to go negative
Right.
on our podcast. But well, we're not going to talk bad about musicians or bands or musical projects.
But like, you know,
We'll talk smack about TV actors.
Clint Howard wasn't a cute kid, but like, you know, he crushed it and
What?
you know, he wanted to be there. He showed up. Like,
Yeah. Do you think his character on Star Trek was like the impetus for the alien super smart Beavis?
possibly.
Possibly. Anyways, okay. That's our tangent for the day.
Yeah. If you want to hear more, listen to our Clint Howard podcast.
Yeah. I would start a Clint Howard podcast if there was the promise of Clint Howard appearing on the podcast at some point in time.
Well, I mean, you're putting the cart before the horse. You know, you gotta teach the
Do the work.
Yeah, you got to do the work. Like
Yeah.
if you don't have a Clint Howard podcast, Clint Howard won't have a Clint Howard podcast to go on.
Right. No risk, no reward.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't want to like pull a gelb wax or anything.
Oh man, our parents aren't forcing us to do this podcast.
No, they are not.
Yeah, I don't know. There's another tangent on a tangent on a tangent.
Oh, a story about somebody who totally gelb whacked it.
Well, a Ron Howard story that's super cool. That I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think my terms are getting any traction.
Yeah, I mean it's funny and yeah. If we were that kind of show,
yeah,
that could become part of our lexicon. But yeah,
okay.
Like, there's a cool story Ron Howard tells about being on the Andy Griffith show, and like the first season, I think, you know, all his lines were scripted and stuff, and like, you know, he's kind of like finding his feet or whatever, and then like I think it was in the second season, he was like having a problem, and like Andy Griffith like noticed he was having a problem and was like, hey, what's the issue? And he was like, well, I don't think a 9-year-old would say that. And so like Andy went and talked to like the director and the writer and was like, they came back a couple minutes later and they're like, well, what do you think a 9-year-old?
What would a 9-year-old say?
Yeah. And so like he got like folded in on like writing Opie's part.
Oh, cool.
And he was like, you know, the Andy Griffith's name is on the show, and he's like, you know, a professional enough to like listen to somebody who's an expert in that particular
being
part.
a 9-year-old.
Yeah, it's like that's pretty cool. Like to have the humility and the professionalism to like, hey,
yeah, and it's what made that
we're all
show
here
cool
together.
because there was plenty of other shows that had scripted 9-year-olds that just came across as like trite or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's like that's kind of part of the reason like Ron Howard is so cool and like so humble and genuine is like he got taken seriously, like as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Well, maybe Gelbwax just didn't get enough artistic license.
Maybe, like it could have been that like he didn't, he just wanted to ride BMX bikes or something.
Or he thought the drum part was lame. It's like, well, why should I play along to this lame drum part when I could like play it better?
Right.
You just let me.
Or like there's this cool band from Australia called AC/DC. I want to play
Are
drums
they
like
around?
that guy.
I think Partridge Family's older than that.
All right.
I'm not sure when that one aired. Oh, well, it's not important.
It's not important.
We will have a whole month where we do TV bands, movie bands, TV show music, cartoon music, and movie soundtracks and theme songs and music.
Oh man.
So we're gonna do the whole Hollywood trip. Yeah, we're still in, is it South Dakota? North Dakota? Where's Mount Rushmore?
I think it's South Dakota.
Somewhere there. Oh, but our Mount Rushmore is like on private property, like on the estate of the Hear Me Out Bro podcast ranch in our minds.
Yeah. So like A, no trespassing. B, if you have a problem with it, you don't have to look at it.
Yeah, we're like the bad rich family that has the ranch, and like you don't go on the property unless you like want to get disappeared or something, like Kevin Costner's Yellowstone Ranch or something. Or
oh, you're making it more sinister. I thought it was more like or like the bad rich family and like the group of plucky teen mystery solvers. Like comes up the road.
Well, there is a matriarch that like has her sons do all her dirty work for her that lives on our ranch. Oh man, I didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm sorry. I'll probably cut all this crap out.
Well, and we'll talk more about what's his name?
Robert Rist. Gelbwax.
Gelbwax. Thank you. In our spin-off Partridge Family podcast, tentatively titled "Come On, Get Happy."
Well, we can have a drum battle and decide which of the two Chris Partridges was the better fake drummer.
Whoa!
Have a shootout. fake drummer shootout.
I don't know if Mr. Gelbwax would approve of that.
Probably not. If he wants to appear on the show, we'll give him our Discord page. He can set the record straight. So, Mr. Gelbwax, if you want to set the record straight,
it'll be worth it.
Shoot us an email at hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, we don't want to get a cease and desist letter from Gelbwax, Rist, and Goranson.
And I don't want to exclude anybody. If Robert Rist would like to come on our show,
that's true.
We have room for everybody.
Yeah, he's a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And even though we don't actually have a Clint Howard podcast like in the works, if he wants to come on Hear Me Out Bro podcast, because he is a brother.
That's true.
Not our brother, but he is a brother.
And, behind the scenes we've been workshopping the title, Glint of Clint, or, trying to come up with a title for the Clint Howard. Because, it would be pretty phony to, like, call it the Clint Howard podcast, because everybody's going to think, like, oh, wow, like, Clint Howard's the podcast? Hell yeah, I'll listen to that. And then
Well,
they're
maybe
like,
people would
oh no, it's just two dudes
listen to us then.
yakking about Clint Howard. No, I don't want to like capitalize on his
Right.
career.
At the real Clint Howard
Right.
.com.
Yeah.
Start putting a bunch of creepy stuff on Twitter. At the real cowboy.
All right. All this meandering.
At the real Chris Partridge.
Oh man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one more thing before we get off this.
Will the real Chris Partridge please stand up?
One more thing before we're done circling the drain here. Do you think Danny Bonaducci's character was modeled after the bass player from Sweet? I'm kind of the sassy redhead bass player, you know, who's always like not really being serious.
I don't know, maybe. I mean, he does have the same kind of cheekiness.
It's probably just a coincidence.
Oh man, that would have been like, it might have been
Steve Priest.
That might have been a little too controversial for the Partridge Family. Maybe showed up in like a satin Nazi uniform.
Nazi uniform, yeah. That would not have flown.
No, that one wouldn't have hatched.
Would have taken the curl out of David Cassidy's perfectly feathered hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he would have lost all volume.
I did have a semi, like, I don't know, 4-year-old crush on Susan, though.
I think everybody who swung that way and was alive in the 70s had a crush on Susan.
Maybe. I think if I looked at her now, I would, like, be less impressed.
Well, you'd feel like a pervy old man, but yeah, she's still what the kids refer to as a smoke show.
Yeah, okay. I take that back. My 4-year-old lack of hormones was correct.
Yeah, it's like she's a pretty good looking 70-year-old woman now. And then like back then, you know, as a teenager, holy crap.
Oh man.
Yeah, my experience like that was with the blonde lady from ABBA. The first time I realized, like, whoa.
Chiquitita, tell me what's wrong. Chiquitita, tell me what's wrong. Chiquitita, tell me what's wrong.
What's happening here? I think we were watching like I want to say it was at Grandma and Grandpa Ross's, but it was probably at home. I do remember there was a braided rug, but that doesn't really narrow it down. So, but yeah, I think it was the ABBA movie where they're like in Australia.
Movie?
You never saw the ABBA movie?
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. You might have been like building jumps for your BMX bike in the backyard, but I think it was like kind of a pseudo documentary about their like Australian tour for The Arrival. Right.
Okay.
Should we talk about keyboard players?
Yeah, let's talk about keyboard players. So my next pick is also playing the organ. And he's also one of my favorite organists.
Okay.
And this is Rod Argent, the band Argent. The song is Pleasure from the album Circle of Hands. Yeah, so we heard Rod Argent once before on our podcast. He was accompanying Colin Blunstone on piano, and he was the keyboardist and also sang backup with the Zombies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was the one playing piano with Colin Blunstone on our vocal Rushmore episode. But yeah, he's a great keyboard player. I really like the Zombies. They're just such a cool 60s band, you know, and
right.
Lots of cool organ solos in there.
Yeah. So according to BuzzFeed, which, you know, is even less credible than citing Wikipedia as one of your sources.
Uh-huh.
Wikipedia is at least peer reviewed, so like even if something incorrect is on there, it usually will be corrected eventually. Yeah, so apparently they broke up before they charted in the US.
Right. So a bunch of
And
people wanted to capitalize on the number one hit.
yeah, so I guess there were a couple fake bands touring as the Zombies. And yeah, there were in fact two different bands touring the United States in 1969 calling themselves the Zombies. Both imposter groups were managed by the same company, Delta Promotions, the owners of which insisted they'd legally acquired the songs of the Zombies and other bands. It was an operation that would be impossible to attempt today, perpetrated in an era when fans didn't have unlimited access to artists' whereabouts, or in some cases, even what they looked like. And
Who
so,
could sing like Colin Blunstone, though, and who could play keyboards like Rod Argent? They just must have done really crappy covers then. She's Not There, Tell Her No. Those aren't easy songs to play.
yeah, well, apparently 4 guys from Dallas, Texas could, because one of the photos, a traditional black and white press photo for the original Zombies, in conspicuous scare quotes, autographed. There are only 4 guys pictured, despite the fact that the Zombies were a 5-piece. I informed White that the 2 young men wearing cowboy hats are Dusty Hill and Frank Beard from the legendary Texas blues rock band ZZ Top. Although the names D. Cruz and Chris Page are scrawled over them. The real Zombies would never have worn cowboy hats.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, good tidbit there. Man.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
I knew I wasn't completely
I knew
crazy.
they kind of broke up before they had any success, really.
Right.
Yeah, Hugh Grundy was their original drummer. And Bob Henrit did play drums for them, the drummer from Argent, but only in 1968.
How many of it's not necessarily their hands on that cover.
Well, that looks like mercury too. That
Yeah, I was going to say
through their hands.
How many of the people who played on that
are
album
still
are
alive
today?
As far as I know, they're all still alive.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's got to be mercury.
Yeah, nothing else looks like that.
Yeah. Okay, I apologize to you beforehand.
Yep.
But it's going to get a little proggy in here.
I see where the next 9 minutes are taking us.
Yeah. Okay, so this is my next keyboard player is Tony Banks with Genesis. And sometimes I pull my punches a little bit with the prog stuff just because I want it to be tolerable for Clark. And, I want the podcast to keep going. I don't want to cause any rifts or anything, but I had to bust out Firth Fifth.
Yep.
So
yeah, one of the original concepts for this podcast was
convincing.
Yeah,
each other. Yeah.
Clark hates prog.
Can I convince Clark to like prog?
Yeah.
Yeah, but since the show has kind of changed and evolved since then, I don't have to worry about convincing you to like this next song.
Right. We can just wear it on our sleeve, wear our loyalties on our sleeve. And then, it's not just a podcast of me suffering.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, maybe that would be entertaining to people. But, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It wouldn't be entertaining for me because I know how much pain it would cause you.
Yeah. Well, if you want to hear me suffer, we'll do some Patreon only prog episodes, but you guys have to request them. And
No. We're gonna have a prog episode. I am gonna try and convince you that some prog is definitely worth it.
Okay.
So there will be a convincer. But in the meantime, this is Tony Banks, Genesis,
Okay, here we go.
5th, from the album Selling England by the Pound. That wasn't too painful, was it?
Yeah, I actually like some of the lyrics. Like part where he sings, "And you, my love, won't you take my hand? We'll go back in time to that mystic land where the dewdrops cry and the cats meow. I will take you there. I will show you how."
Is that from this song?
Isn't it? Oh, wait, no, that's from Stonehenge by Spinal Tap.
Okay, I'm going to make a last second audible here. So, okay, well, you said maybe we should have some flute on here too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got to hear Peter Gabriel flouting it up. Okay, we're heading into some palate cleansers here.
Yeah.
But before we even get to the palate cleansers, I want you to be able to fully enjoy and embrace your palate cleansers. So I want to put one more video on here really quick.
Yeah, and I deserve it for making a Spinal Tap joke. Fine. It's fine.
Okay, so it's a 4-minute video, and it's called Hammond's Hate on Genesis Compilation. And speaking of Hammonds, one of the reasons I like listening to Tony Banks is some of the keyboards I have are stuff that he plays. And it's coincidental, but I also really like Tony Banks's keyboard playing. My particular Hammond organ is a T100. It's a solid state Hammond with the built-in Leslie, which is the same model that he used. So yeah, we'll just watch this first video. We won't talk about Genesis anymore. Other than during the time they were recording this album, Phil Collins was listening to a lot of Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really inspired by Billy Cobham's drumming and decided to make his drum parts even more complex for their 5th album, which was Selling England by the Pound. And a lot of people didn't like this album at all.
Okay.
But it's kind of grown on people since when it came out. And now some people consider it to be one of their best. So this next video is Hammond's Hate on Genesis Compilation.
But this is not Hammond organ. This is
Richard Hammond from Top Gear.
Right.
And they tortured him with Genesis songs during their India trip.
I think I remember this episode.
Okay. So you're not alone.
No.
You know, it could be the age gap that we talk about at times.
It could be.
But there's people my age that can't really get down with Genesis either. So anyways, okay. Time for your next 2 picks.
Okay. I'm adding that to the end of the playlist.
Okay.
In case anyone else wants to know how I feel. Yeah, like all good playlists, you should include at least one Swedish band.
Oh yeah, we've been neglecting the Swedes on our last few episodes.
So we're going to make up for that right now. So this song's kind of proggy, a little bit. You know, it's got like a theme. It's from a concept album. It's got a keyboard solo. Well, I don't know if it's a keyboard. It has a keyboard intro. This band doesn't really do solos. Anyway, one of the artists that I thought of when thinking about keyboard players and if I had to add something to this episode. At first I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not really that big a fan of keyboards. And it's like, well, that's not true. You like this band. This band is fronted by a keyboard player. So this is Joachim Roden with Sabaton playing the Red Baron.
So
Kind of a
rad.
cop out because Joachim doesn't actually play organ on the song. But,
Yeah, but
he writes all the songs and he plays organ or the keyboard during the studio
yeah.
stuff. So
And he jumped on there for the little break riff.
yeah, and like I mostly that was just to showcase the coolest effing Hammond organ ever.
It is pretty cool. Oh man.
Yeah, Snoopy would approve.
Yeah. And he might be a contender. Because, I mean, he doesn't just play organ. You know, he plays piano on a lot of stuff. And
yeah, they have a song that I cannot stand. So fair, full disclosure, I guess. They have a lot of their albums are concept albums, so they're at least prog adjacent. And
they're power metal.
Yeah, they're definitely power metal.
Historical military power metal.
Yeah.
Subgenre of the subgenre of the subgenre.
Right. Hey, remember that song, The Trooper by Iron Maiden? What if we did a whole band that just did that? Yes. Say we're adults, we can have ice cream for dinner. Yeah, but so when the keyboard is used correctly in a heavy metal song, it can work. And but yeah, sometimes, like as I was saying, they have one of their albums is called Heroes, and it's all about military heroes throughout history and all over the world. And but one of the songs is called The Ballad of the Bull, and I cannot stand it because it's just Joachim playing piano and singing. And it's a ballad, like a slow ballad. And
it's not metal enough.
It's not metal enough, and then it's just like it's a cheesy ballad. And it's like he's got a cool voice for doing what they do most of the time, but for a ballad,
right? For a ballad,
oof, yeah, it's pretty painful. So dripped down, like he's not. If it's just him, he's not my favorite keyboard player. But if the whole rest of the band is like along for the ride, they sound great, and I love them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I might consider him for our crazy horse because he'd be pretty cool looking. True. And also, Sabaton is my son's favorite band.
Mm-hmm.
If Sabaton's on one of our playlists and I don't like rank them, then I'm being a bad father.
True.
Yeah, they're his favorite band, and like, on your jacket, how like you have the big back patch for a battle jacket. His is Sabaton.
Nice.
Yeah. Got the full size Sabaton back patch.
Yeah, my back patch it's kind of a twofer. Like the top part is like a really big Heidevolt patch that's like the Haida Volk logo with like two drinking horns like clanking together. And then below that, like, you know, the rest of the back is, so I guess that's like up at the shoulders. Yeah, my back patch is from a Tier t-shirt that the dog ate. And it's like, it's the lyrics to the Faroese national anthem with like a flag, tattered flag behind it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Sabaton are fun. They scratch an itch. If that's like,
Exactly.
if that's your interest, if you're into history and you like metal and you like European power metal, and they're very intersectional, I guess.
Yeah. And it's like they're very much of a thing. So it's like, you know, if they're not your thing, I totally understand. But it's like you got to admit some of their songs are cool, and then it's like they highlight a lot of stuff that like needs to be highlighted. Like, you know, it can't be just like a boring like documentary,
Yeah.
like, buried on the History Channel, or like there's some fairly
Don't make it
obscure
too dry.
YouTube video. Yeah, like they have that song about Castle Itter at the end of World War II. That's super rad. Where like German Wehrmacht, American Army, and French political prisoners all teamed up to defend this castle. That was, although the French political prisoners were, and I think the staff was mostly Polish. There might have been some Romanians or some Hungarians. Yeah, so the staff, like the Eastern European staff and French political prisoners, were going to be liquidated by the SS. And
everybody banded together to stop it.
Yeah, including like their countrymen, like regular German soldiers were like, no. Like,
yeah,
if you were
at,
defend our country, you're being evil, racist bastards. So
yeah, if you were at like a big European metal festival and Sabaton was on the list of bands appearing, like, you know, that particular stage at that particular time would be a pretty fun crowd to be in.
Right.
Yeah, it'd have to be a really good band to not go, oh yeah, it's 10:30, Sabaton's on the West stage.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably have to be like Iron Maiden
era Black Sabbath.
Yeah, somehow.
Like, or Maiden, and you hadn't seen Maiden in the last 10 years or something.
I don't know. Like, I'm never not going to go see Iron Maiden if I'm within 3 hours of them. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But it was like, there's only a handful of bands that I would choose over.
Yeah, I can't think of many bands
that would Sabaton
be
like, live.
I'll catch Sabaton next time around. Or the album's good enough. I don't need to ever see them live.
Right.
Did you ever see them live?
Sabaton? Yeah, I've seen them twice.
Oh, okay.
And and it is a fun crowd. And like, I think he kind of hams. Well, I mean, obviously he hams it up because like he caves almost every time. But like the story goes that he doesn't like playing the song Swedish Pagans live. Like that was one of their early songs, and he thinks it's kind of dumb. Like it's not his proudest work, but it's like it's a fan favorite. And like he played the melody to it, like in the intro,
at the beginning there,
the Red Baron.
Yeah, and, just as a teaser.
Yeah, and it's a fan favorite, and like pretty much like the whole mosh pit and like half the audience will like sit down on the floor and start rowing and chanting until they play Swedish Pagans.
Oh man.
Like in protest or request, like,
come on,
do it. Yeah. So so I've gotten to sit on the floor. There wasn't enough room when I saw him at this place in Berkeley, the University Theater in Berkeley. But yeah, when I saw him the second time at the Regency, there was plenty of room. A bunch of people sat down.
Oh, also another little thing another little house cleaning thing.
But yeah.
Susan Day played keyboards in the Partridge Family.
Oh.
Well,
Why
didn't
isn't
actually
she
play
on the
the
list?
keyboards, but she sat at a keyboard when they made their song videos.
And moved her fingers around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You're predisposed to liking keyboard players.
I don't think that's it.
I think it is. I think Sigmund Freud would claim otherwise.
Freud.
So going back to Europe.
Well, hold
Speaking
on.
of Sigmund Freud. Okay.
The keyboard players are different than any other instrument that's going to be in a rock band, because I think when you play keyboard, like everybody starts out with piano lessons.
Right.
So you're learning to read sheet music. You're maybe thinking about like theory and composition a little bit more.
Right.
And the way the keyboard is laid out with like, the sharps and the flats and the configuration of the keyboard, it kind of lends itself to that kind of thinking.
Right.
And you're playing in different keys. Like guitar players and bass players are always going to want to play in like E or A, because of those are the main open strings. But keyboard players will be like, oh, I want to play in C. So keyboards just think differently.
Yeah, they've got the whole salad bar laid out.
Yeah.
You think they're like predisposed to like being more Mozart than Joey Ramone because of that?
Yeah, maybe.
It's like that's the path.
Well, let's just put it this way. Piano players have chopsticks and guitar players have smoke on the water.
There you go.
So it's just like a different side of the brain or something.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes a lot of sense. So speaking of like rationalizing things and learning to understand things, because of Sabaton and like European power metal with heavy keyboard in it, I've grown to appreciate songs that like I used to think were pretty cheesy. And it's like, this song is pretty cheesy, but there's no denying how kick-ass it is.
It is kick-ass.
Famously it gets used as Joe Bluth's theme song on Arrested Development.
Oh, yeah, I never got through that series.
They're illusions, Michael. Whores do tricks. They're illusions. He's a magician.
Okay.
And so the hook from this song is like his theme song.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's like it works for that because it's so grandiose and like, powerful and like, spectacular. So like I used to think the song was pretty cheesy, but like Sabaton has helped bend my ear towards this band and especially this song. And so it's like I've come to appreciate all of its glory. And it fills our Swedish quota yet again.
Nice.
Okay, so this is Unar Matthias McKaylee and Europe playing Final Countdown. Oh man.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean it's a great song. It's just there's a layer of cheese in it for sure. And
well, you might think it's like a Velveeta or like a, I don't know, like a cheesy cheese. But like seeing Joey Tempest there on vocals.
Oh yeah, he's a great singer.
He's a great. Well, sometimes.
Well,
are you familiar with "Give a Helping Hand"? Swedish Metal Aid.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's so awesome. What's the right word for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Swedish Metal Aid is like peak this thing.
True.
This will
Yeah,
get us
it's
through
like-
the rest of the year for like our Swedish mentions. We check this one out real quick.
Yeah, I think I'd rather play some other Swedish bands.
Okay. Oh man. Okay. Speaking of semi crushes and stuff. Okay, we won't go right in. Well, I'll just start off with the crush thing. Like, kind of developed a little crush on this lady, Linda Lewis. But it's here because the keyboard player on here is Max Middleton, that played on Blow by Blow, Jeff Beck's album. And he was in the Jeff Beck group, like after Nicky Hopkins, but before it just became Jeff Beck, when it was still the Jeff Beck group. Max Middleton was in that, and then also on Blow by Blow. And so I began with the piano, then we had the organ, then we had more organ with Joachim and Sabaton, and then we had whatever that was in Europe. It's like kind of a trumpety sound, but it's just a synthesizer.
Yep.
But yeah, it is what it is. Nobody else could use that sound after that. You know, it's probably like a preset on the keyboard, and it's like, oh, I can't use that. That sounds too much like Final Countdown.
Yeah, it's just locked in.
Yeah, like Horn. It's like, darn it. Yeah, I can't use that anymore. But now I'm kind of shifting to electric piano players a little bit. So this is Max Middleton. And I mean, if you don't know my love for Tower of Power from the drum episode or from the bass episode, this is Max Middleton on keyboards and Tower of Power just singing backup vocal on this song. And I don't know, I just love this song. Gives me the feels.
Nice.
It's Linda Lewis, Not a Little Girl Anymore. Impressions before I give you the rundown?
Yeah, I really like that. That was good.
Yeah, like, I don't know, he's playing Fender Rhodes piano, but it's got this stereo panning on it. Like it's almost enough to make you seasick. It just like swirls around.
Yeah, like that. And that part at the beginning was a little much, but
sometimes too much is like just the right amount. But yeah, like he does all these little accents and stuff, and it just really kind of supports her vocal.
mm-hmm.
You know, he's just like the perfect accompanist to have on keyboards. But yeah, also the Tower of Power backup vocals on there make me really like this song, because another song that I just totally love that you've probably heard if you've gone to weddings or something is You're Still a Young Man by Tower of Power. You know that song?
Probably.
It's, yeah, after the show, like we'll check it out. But
Okay.
like I just love that song. Like, to me, like, You're Still a Young Man, and it has those Tower of Power backup vocals, and then this one is Not a Little Girl Anymore, and it has the Tower of Power backup vocals. So for me, it's kind of like these are like counter each other, you know,
Right?
Like balance each other out. Like this is like the yin to the yang of the Still a Young Man, Not a Little Girl Anymore. And I just love both these songs, and I don't know, it just makes me think of like cruising around in a lowrider. I don't know, oldies, you know, like the cool oldies to listen to in your lowrider.
Yeah,
Get all romantic or whatever.
Yeah. Falling in love.
Yeah. Young love, summertime, cruising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Linda Lewis is an amazing singer. Like, I don't know if you caught the part where she's like doubling her vocal and she's doing like this super high harmonic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think she had like 5 octaves of range to her voice. She could sing like higher than anybody. She could sing low. She could sing soulful. And she was also Cat Stevens' girlfriend. And she was also Mark Bolan's girlfriend.
Nice.
And she also hung out with Muhammad Ali. So, I don't know. I have like a time travel crush on her because she's just like, I don't know. She's an awesome singer and her songs are cool, but she's also just kind of like cute as a bug, you know? So,
Yeah, I was, I don't know how deep you want to get on this. This is,
well, we can leave it in or not.
yeah, this is not the podcast for it. But yeah, I was like, man, who does she remind me of? Like, there's like another like British, like cute British girl that I like have a celebrity crush on. And I don't know if you ever watched The Expanse
No.
sci-fi show. Really good, based on a really good series of books. But yeah, Dominique Tipper.
Oh,
If you look her up, she plays Naomi Nagata, like one of the main characters, and it's like, yeah, like there's some really pretty British women.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, Linda Lewis passed away a few years ago.
Yeah,
and
last year.
Rest in peace. Yeah. So my crush is just in my mind, but like she started out as a folkie. I'll do a Linda Lewis episode
Okay, cool.
because yeah, she's kind of unknown a little bit, but yeah, like it started out. I was watching a Terry Reid, him playing at some concert festival with David Lindley, and Alan White, the drummer from Yes, was in his band. And it wasn't Isle of Wight, but it was Donington, maybe one of those like festivals that's been going on forever. But so I was watching this Terry Reid set, and they had this backup singer, and I was like, "Who is that?" And so I went down the rabbit hole. Turns out, well, and yeah, David Lindley was playing slide with him back then, back in the late 60s, early 70s. And I was like, who is that? So finally figured out is Linda Lewis by some YouTube comment or something. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay. Yeah. And then the rabbit hole began and like had to get all her albums, had to check out every video of her on YouTube and just, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like
put her in the earbuds.
The Little Feet song where it's like, oh, wait, you have that person singing backup for you? Holy crap.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, she can do like that Mariah Carey whistle thing, but she like can just sing it. It's not like a trick.
Right.
For her. Anyways, so this song always makes me want to cry a little bit, and I hope it doesn't make you. Hope it makes you want to cry a little bit too, but not too much.
Okay.
So I forgot. Well, I didn't forget. I didn't include Ronnie Wood on the guitar player episode.
Okay.
And I didn't include Kenny Jones on the drums episode. But if I did, then these guys would be one of our like automatic bands. So this is Ian McLaughlin from The Faces. And I mean, I could have just done the piano part from Stay With Me or, you know, any number of Faces songs, but I really like this song. This is from his solo stuff. It's a little bit later. This is Ian McLaughlin with Never Say Never Again. I always appreciate it when the late night show band doesn't play along with the musical guest.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes it's cool, but like I appreciate it when they don't. It's like, let the band do their thing.
You don't want to hear Paul Schaefer's interpretation of that song?
Nah. Ian McLaughlin is keyboardist enough.
Yeah, that's probably why Paul stepped down.
Yeah.
It's like, that guy's a goofball, but like he wasn't an a-hole.
Well, he might have just been listening, you know? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but man, what a great keyboard player. That song's cool. It's beautiful. And
yeah, and I see what you meant about your trigger warning.
Yeah.
The beginning. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I felt all those feels before.
Yeah.
Yep.
But man, it's a cool song. He sings cool, you know? It's like, I mean, how great were The Faces?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, the guitar player on here too does a pretty good like Ronnie Wood tone. You know, it's like his backup band there. It's like, yeah, you got a good band. Like, I am a rocker and stuff, but I also have like this kind of like folky / like Americana leanings, like in the music that I like to record for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I like to listen to stuff that I can't really play. You know, like, I can't really play metal that great. And I can fake it or whatever. But, you know, it's like a different language a little bit, like that type of guitar playing.
Right.
But, you know, like kind of the Americana soft rock stuff. Like, I don't know, that's like the music that like develops in my head that like I want to write songs like, or like record like, or make those kind of sounds, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, this song just this whole album that he put out is really good. But yeah, this song especially, like I like the way the keyboard melody like follows his vocal a little bit. Yeah, it's just interesting musical ideas.
Sure.
Nothing flashy, just like the song that just communicates the message.
Right.
And we did have like a couple less is more kind of artists. You know, when you do these Mount Rushmore things, you know, it's always like, oh, Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, and
you go for the glory.
Yeah, it's
those are like the ones that bubble to the forefront.
Right.
Thoughts. Yeah.
But like, I mean, less is more a lot of times.
It's true.
And like sometimes you don't even notice that it's going on, but if you pulled out that one part of the song, it would not be nearly as good. Right. And this next artist, so Ian McLaughlin's kind of like that, but then also this next artist, like he can play what anybody else does, more or less, but often he just picks like the perfect part to just like flavor the song just right. You know, it's like a chef, you know, he's not going to add too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be like, wow, that's a lot of nutmeg in that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Flashy and.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not overpowering, but it's like just supportive and like makes everything else a little better just by being there. So this is Benmont Tench with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and Refugee.
Yeah, that song's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good flavor. I mean, it's like you can play Hammond organ like John Lord, or you can play it like Benmont Tench and
Right.
just have this like layer of like color or like.
Yeah, and didn't we talk about the guitar player from the Heartbreakers?
Yeah, Mike Campbell.
Yeah, on the guitar episode.
Yeah, he was one of my nominees, one of my picks.
Yeah, just like they're serving the song. They're not serving their ego or whatever. Like,
Right.
they're in a band, and like, yeah. I've always liked those guys. And it's like, they were huge in the 80s and early 90s and stuff. And but like for good reason. Like it was never like, oh man, yeah, they sold out, or like, this is just like,
or yeah, that's what the record companies want me to be listening to right now.
Right. It's like, it didn't matter whether you were like a rocker or whatever. Like it was one of the songs that they'd play, or like one of the bands they would play routinely on the radio that like everybody could get behind. Like, like, oh yeah, this is a great song.
Yeah, and I'll never be able to play keyboards like a John Lord or a Tony Banks. But, I can play a chord or just like one finger or two fingers like Benmont Tench and just like, okay, this is the right part for this section of the song. Like when they go to the verse, it's like, it's just this layer of, the Leslie speaker. And the thing with a Hammond organ, like I was talking about how it's a tone wheel earlier, but it also has drawbars on it. And like the classic pipe organs also had drawbars or like pull stops where you have the pitch that you're playing, but then you can also add harmonics to it.
Okay.
Like a second or a third or a fourth or a fifth or seventh. And that's what gives the Hammond organ like different flavors. So like, the chef seasoning is like, oh, this could be a little saltier. It needs the high note, or it needs the low note. So you can really like Benmont Tench not only see like hitting the right keys on the keyboard, but he's pulling out the right stops on the drawbars to just get, like that kind of little high whistle, or like kind of make it more kind of fluty or woody sounding. Like he just seasons it just right for what the song needs. So yeah, there's more to playing Hammond organ than just like pressing the keys down.
Yeah, brash. Like,
yeah. And like, that's why Hammond is so interesting also, because like what makes different instruments sound different, like they call it the timbre, Timbre. The timbre is like the harmonic content. That's what makes a violin sound different than a trumpet, or, a bassoon sound different than a pipe organ. So, yeah. So like by adjusting those drawbars, you can kind of get like what some strings would do, or like what a woodwind section would do. It's just not like these keyboard presets or like, oh, well, this is what this keyboard sounds like.
Right.
It's pretty flexible, I mean, we've heard a lot of Hammond organ players on this list, and you can always tell it's a Hammond just because they sound so good. But like, there's a wide variety in the sounds that can come out of one of those things.
You can also tell because he's the short one. Oh, sorry, that's Richard Hammond.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
And
I
also,
was getting those two confused again.
yeah, and also with the Hammond, well, with the Leslie cabinet that is typically used with the Hammond organ, it's a speaker that spins around.
Right.
So you get a little bit of a vibrato from the Doppler effect of the speaker spinning around.
Right. Didn't you have one of those for a while?
Yeah. 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 The organ I have now has one that's built into it.
Nice.
It's good for recording, but yeah, it's not the big giant thing you see at like reggae concerts on the front of the stage.
Right.
But the Hammond organ also, it has two different speeds. Has a fast rotation and a slow rotation, and it doesn't just like automatically jump to that speed because it's got to spin up to that speed. So you also get these variations of when it's like speeding up to the fast speed and like slowing down to the slow speed.
Nice.
And like you can hear Benmont Tench using it there, you know, when he's playing the chorus and he's playing kind of the higher chords, he goes to the higher speed. And then when it drops to the verse, then he drops it down to the slow speed and he's playing the lower, just kind of like one or two note chords to kind of support the vocal, or like get out of the way of the vocal, you know.
Right.
If he was playing the high, fast spinning Leslie, when Tom Petty's trying to sing the verse, it's going to get in the way of that, you know. But you can get that build and that lift by, you know, speeding up or slowing down the Leslie or pulling out different drawbars. So yeah, and Benmont's just like a master of pulling out the right stops and having the right speed on the Leslie and just making it work with the song, just accentuating things just the right way.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, the next two picks are mine only because I couldn't decide. Same composer and keyboard player, different artists doing some of the stuff. It's only because I couldn't decide on, well, I mean, I could decide, but then there's something that like had to it's just a bonus song, essentially, just so we could talk about it. Plus, I want more people to hear this song because it's pretty incredible and it has some pretty incredible performance on it.
Nice.
Not necessarily from the keyboard player.
Okay.
And then I never knew there was this single version of it. Like, I guess they re-released it in 2007. I was already a huge fan of it. I guess it got popular again, and they re-released it, and I guess they brought it back on tour and like released a DVD of it, which I need to track down. Anyway, this is Jeff Wayne from Jeff Wayne's rock musical War of the Worlds.
Oh,
and
nice.
Spirit of Man. So I should have told you not to look up. Are
you trying to pull a fast one on me?
What do you mean?
Dude, I would know Phil Lynnett's voice anywhere.
Dang it. I knew it. I was going to say.
Trying to get clever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so what do you think of those keyboards, Eric? Pretty good, yeah, right? Yeah. Anything else about that song you noticed?
Uh-huh. Well, and it's like Julie Covington, who like sings a duet with him. Like, it's
cool.
Man.
Super cool.
She's got a voice and a half. It's like this super talented, like stage singer, and then like a super talented like rock singer doing this duet, and it's like just sheer ability wise, like Phil's outclassed, but he's just like he's got such
Character.
such a unique character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's able to hold court with Julie. And it works.
Oh, man.
It's like you were saying with the Heartbreakers, like it's like what the song needs. Person Nathaniel is like this man on the edge who's like losing his faith, but like clinging to his faith at the same time,
Yeah.
doubling down, and it's like having this mental breakdown, and like Beth, his wife, is like trying to keep him centered and like bring him down to earth and show him that there's still beauty yet to be had. So yeah, it's like it works like vocally, like each of them, like
Yeah.
like Jeff Wayne was just a master. It's like, oh yeah, you'd be perfect for this. Like, hey, can you do me a favor and sing on this goofy sci-fi musical record that I'm putting together?
Yeah, I had this whole like bit that I was gonna do. Like, I don't know. I'll try it after the next one, but it might not be convincing. But yeah, I had this whole thing I was gonna do, like try and come across like I wasn't into what was going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, dang it, that's Phil in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I just love I love this album. It's like a double album, and it's like it's so sincere.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous, but it's so sincere. And it's just like, it came out in a time when there were all these like super phenomenal musicians, and like they all came together and just like crushed this album out. And it's like it's genius. Like,
yeah,
it's so good. And it's like if you listen to it, like if you like War of the Worlds, like the original one, like the movie adaptations have all been pretty lame.
Agreed.
But like if you love the book, because the book is genius too. Like this is like a fairly, I mean, it's not a faithful adaptation, like because he adds some stuff in, and like,
well, yeah, and there's only certain bits that are gonna like be served musically. So
mm-hmm.
like you highlight parts that might not be highlighted in a visual adaptation,
right?
And you kind of get more like interaction and exchange with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's like there's so many just like awesome songs on that album. Like I absolutely adore it. Like,
yeah,
I love it so much. It kind of taps into the, like, we were talking about it a couple episodes ago, like the Peter and the Wolf thing, where like, the flute represents the bird,
right,
and
right.
The oboe represents this, and that kind of like introduction to like child's introduction to musical theater. And,
yeah.
So it kind of taps into that, but it's like every aspect of like the story has a sound. So like the Martians, like their tripods, like the heat ray has a sound. Like they make this, like, in the book, they make tripods. The ooh-la sound, and they make like,
oh man,
you could hear it in there, like the ooh-la, like sound effect, like the vocoder kind of synthesized vocal thing. And then what is it, the black smoke or whatever has a sound. The red weed has a sound.
Yeah.
Like each aspect of the story like has its own musical sound. And so like as they're telling the story, like it's all keyed in. And then like Richard Burton does the narration, and it's just like, okay. Like,
oh man,
could this be any better? Like, it can't. Like, it's chef kiss.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull my bit like when I introduced my last final pick. But when you were talking there, it's like now my brain's all preoccupied because I'm thinking about like how you could make a prog album about the tripods.
Yeah, the White
The
Mountains.
White Mountains. Yeah.
Yeah, the tripod trilogy. White Mountains, City of Gold and Lead, and Pool of Fire.
Oh man, I got homework.
Which, dude, like, yeah, John Christopher, it's the nom de plume. I forget the guy's name, but like, he wrote the series of books. Tripod trilogy was his most famous. He also wrote like the Lotus Caves and the what is it, the Sword of Spirits, like Beyond the Burning Lands, and
Yeah. So
a couple others. He had like the Death of Grass was another one. Is that the name of it? I don't know. But like a lot of his fiction was like apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic,
we're
and
pre-apocalyptic.
yeah, or like humanity is like grappling with its own lost civilization of humanity. Like something happened, like a nuclear Armageddon, and like, you know, an unknown amount of time later, like they're back at like feudal times, rebuilding civilization.
Yeah.
There's like this secret cult of scientists that have like held on to knowledge, and or like the aliens came and like, you know, technologically crushed us and didn't succumb to earth bacteria.
Yeah.
And like, you know, bombed the humans back to the like a medieval state. And so it's like it starts out and it's like, oh, like they're riding around on horses and wearing armor and have you know, swords and shields and stuff, and like living on a farm or whatever.
Right.
But then it's like there's like a slow trickle of like, oh, this is a little different. It's a little different. Oh, wait, no, like that. You know, it's actually in the future.
Right. Right.
Like it seems like a fantasy novel, but it's actually sci-fi.
Yeah. It's all these feudal peasants like interacting and trying to survive, but then they sneak out under the wire to like expose like what the real history is and how there's a resistance to being taken over by the aliens or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like, that's why I love that SM Sterling guy.
Yeah. His is like that,
the fire,
but with just like this nebulous,
like the apocalypse is
firing pin that gets pulled, you know?
Yeah. Like the mechanism is unexplained.
Right.
And then like the people live through it. So they know about the change, but then it reverts back to, so like the whole time I've been reading all those books, I've been like 12-year-old Clark.
Oh man.
I was a huge fan of the White Mountains and the Tripod trilogy. It's just like jumping up and down. It's like my inner child is just like, yay.
Oh man. Yeah. I think I was like
good.
8 or something. And John Christopher came to the Sonoma County Library and I got my Tripod trilogy autographed by him. And I have no idea where that is now.
Yeah. Like a rock musical about the White Mountains.
Oh yeah.
Would be pretty dope.
Cool. I'm going to start working on that. Pull another empty spiral notebook out of the cabinet.
Yep. Yeah, those are, you know, like the 70s, early 80s young adult fiction version of Neil Peart lyrics, where it's like,
yeah,
you read those books and you think differently when you come out of them. Like you look at the world a little different.
Yeah, you start like planning where your feet are going to trod.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, you can't just like skip around. Like there could be a misstep with consequences that you don't want.
Right.
So you don't have much control, but you can make choices for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that coming of age, like
Yeah, you
leaving,
can resist
leaving
the
Shire.
norm. You can
Yeah.
resist the accepted norms
Mhm.
and find your own path.
Yep.
Through the
Yeah, you start to have
wilderness.
some agency. Bringing us back to the playlist, that Ian McLagan song. Like a lot of people have like strings that can get pulled or strummed or whatever, and like, you know, jerk the tears out of them. And like, you know, sad songs, like, you know, that song was pretty parallel to stuff that I've been through. So I could totally grok all of those lyrics, keeping it in like sci-fi
Yeah.
lingo.
Croc.
Shout out to Robert Heinlein. But like the real chord that, like, if you strum it or pull it or whatever,
Is
depending on
Moog
whether the
synthesizer?
yes. No, is like heroic sacrifice.
Oh, okay.
So it's like people like standing their ground and like bravely like sacrificing themselves for the benefit
Not
of
bending
others.
principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, no, this is the hill I'm gonna die on. And it's not, you know, some ego argument thing. It's like, no, like I'm gonna give my life so that like the rest of the villagers can flee or whatever, or like
Right. It's the sacrifice thing, but it's also like for me, I don't know, I think I could do something like that because I wouldn't want to live in a world where like things are bowed down to, or where like things I'm against are acceptable.
right.
You know, and I
Even
know
though
we do live in a world
I
where
was gonna
people bow
say
down and where those things are acceptable. But like for me,
that is the world.
but for me to have to like be forced to counter that, I wouldn't
Right.
want to live in the world with myself
Yeah.
and sacrifice my principles to something like that.
Right. Well, yeah, there's that part of it too, but then there's also like like Sabdon's got the song about the Swiss guard, like
Yeah.
guard the Pope, and it's like the Pope at that time was like, oh
At most times.
yeah, that the Pope at that time was a particular dirtbag, and
Yeah. Not much has changed.
yeah, dirtbag among dirtbags. Anyway, not a political show, not really a religious show.
Yeah.
Podcast yet. The religion of music is what we talk
Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Like, what's the rule for holidays? Don't talk about
about. Politics
or religion.
Yeah.
Or music.
Yeah. Okay, Clark and Eric started about talking about
It
music.
could be anything nowadays. There's a lot of minefields laid out.
Yeah, but like the Swiss Guard like laid down their lives to like protect the Pope, even though he was a dirtbag. And then like I know I've told you about it, and probably everybody that's like hung out with me for more than 45 minutes has heard that like the Lion Monument in Lucerne, Switzerland, like just always brings me to tears. It's about like the Swiss mercenary guard that were defending Marie Antoinette and some of like the French royals during the French Revolution, and like the French bodyguards for Marie Antoinette were just like, "F this, we're out of here."
All
And the
bailed.
Swiss, even though they were mercenaries, were like, "We took the job."
I'm a soldier.
And like, yeah,
yeah.
and like this is what
Gotta
we
have
do.
a code.
Yeah, they like lived and died by their code, and so like I don't know, like 150 years later or something, they created this monument for them. And yeah, and it's like this wounded lion that's dying, and it's just like it's so mournful and just like such a unique setting.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, like it gives me goosebumps. But so and then like there was a movie called Ironclad about I forget the king that it was, but uh it's about the Magna Carta with the barons and stuff, like rising up against the king for being a dirtbag. And
Yeah,
like,
another one where it's like, which one? Which one was the dirtbag?
yeah, well, the one that like finally,
The current one?
in legal terms, like the power of the king was questioned. Like, yeah, we get it, divinity, but like, could you stop being such a dirtbag?
Yeah.
You got to be subject to some laws. Anyway, yeah, Paul Giamatti plays the king. It's
Oh, man.
like he's one of those actors where it's like, yeah, I know, like received pronunciation isn't like an historic English accent, but like neither is modern American. But like I always think it's so baller when like an American actor is like, yeah, I'm not going to try to do an accent.
Oh, man.
I'm just going to, like John Malkovich, same thing. Like he's always
Oh,
just
man.
John Malkovich.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Paul Giamatti plays the king, but he has these two bodyguards, and it's like it's not that action packed a movie. Although they are like chasing him all over England, and but
Does
like
it
there's
have
this one.
Knights Templar and stuff?
I don't think so. It has some knights. I don't know if they're Templars or not. They like these two knights, like there's like some nobles or whatever that are loyal to the king, and then like these two knights, and like the barons that are pursuing him are like coming in one side of the castle, and like they're totally outmanned, and so like the king has to flee, and so like the other nobles and the king like basically run out the back door, and the two knights are just like, go, we'll stay here. And they like you know impossible odds, but just to like slow down long enough so the king can get away. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, the king's a dirtbag. They're like,
Yeah, I think that was
they're loyal to
King
their
John.
code.
He like signed the Magna Carta, but then like didn't uphold it or something.
Yeah. Anyway.
So what's your next pick?
Somehow we're not a food podcast, we're not a politics podcast, we're not a religion podcast, and we're not a history podcast, but somehow we welcome back to Tangents with Clark and Eric. So Noble Sacrifice is the string. If you want to see Clark cry, just like show me some Noble Sacrifice, and I will cry. So this song is like the secret tearjerker on the playlist. This is Jeff Wayne again from the War of the Worlds musical and Thunder Child. Yeah, so a little more bombast and stuff, but like,
yeah,
that song is so kick ass. Like,
yeah,
like,
dude, I don't know. I just can't really get into or get behind like some big grandiose, like overblown production, musical production of some literary thing with like narration and
What?
sound effects and
But what if it has like
multiple singing actors and
but Richard Burton and Phil Lynott
it's just
and
I don't know. Phil Lynott's cool because he was in
H.G.
Thin Lizzy,
Wells.
but
But
I don't
come
know,
on,
dude.
H.G. Wells.
Yeah, but to like take some literary thing or like some story and like just like overblow it into this like bloated, grandiose, like high budget, like overdone musical adaptation. It's like, you could just go to the library and like check out the book or, go get the DVD or something, or it's probably on Netflix right now. You could see like the Tom Cruise version of War of the World.
Yeah, but it's like sometimes like music tells a story and like the music kind of like heightens the story.
But the story's
But
already
it's like
there.
the chapter about the Thunder Child like is pretty short and like
Yeah.
it's still pretty powerful, but it's like when it has the emotion and everything behind it, and especially emotion conveyed via synthesizer.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't do anything for you. What are you talking? You're talking
It
crazy.
doesn't really
talk.
do anything. I should probably just move on to my next pick before I say something I don't want to say.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're just dissing Jeff Wayne.
Not Jeff Wayne in particular, just
wrong.
Just the whole idea of like, let's take a book or like a story that's already been adapted 1,000 times, and like we'll get all these musicians together and we'll like bring this story to life musically. I don't know. It's just a little too like Broadway or something for me. And
I mean, it's Jeff Wayne's musical version of The War of the Worlds. That's the official title of the piece. So this is
even the name's too long.
It's Jeff Wayne's musical version of The War of the Worlds.
Well, right. Yeah, it's like how egotistical can you get? And then the name ends up being like way too long. Sorry, dude.
You just don't get it?
No, I don't get it at all.
Oh,
like,
man.
I should probably just move on to my next pick at this point.
Do I need to make you listen to Forever Autumn?
No.
All right.
No.
Fine. What's your next pick?
Okay, my next pick is Rick Wakeman's The Myths and Legends of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, a musical adaptation thereof. And this is Guinevere.
What?
With Sir Richard Thompson narrating.
Oh. Another Sir Richard.
On ice.
Wait, what? Oh, so it didn't have figure skaters. So that's why you didn't like War of the Worlds. Okay, got it.
The water was in a thawed state. I wanted to see those tripods going full Bambi.
Gas or liquid? No, solid.
Solid, yes. That was my acting bit.
I think. Oh, man.
Okay. Yeah, if you didn't know, I was kidding around at the end of that last one.
Yeah, for a minute there, for like the first half of that song, I was like, wait, oh, okay, there must be two Rick Wakemans that play keyboard. This isn't Journey to the Center of the Earth Rick Wakeman. And then the like really phased out like synthesizer-y sound started. I was like, oh yeah, no, it's
the same guy.
Same guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when you have these big musical productions like this, where you like everything's written down, like a band, you don't really write out sheet music or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You just come up with your part for the song and try and remember it. Maybe you write it down and some way to remember it.
Right.
But you're not like reading off sheet music or anything. But I think
Yeah,
for these big
it's not a recital.
productions, right? I think with these big productions, it kind of has to be that way.
Because there's so much stuff going on.
Right. So you get kind of these more classical trained kind of musicians that like, okay, I got to play this exact part, you know,
Right.
just the right way. And yeah, I mean, I know that's true for some, like a drummer I really like. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I always check out his YouTube channel. He plays on the Lion King on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all, you know, read stuff. I'm sure he's got it memorized by now because he's been doing it for like a decade or something.
Right.
But yeah, that's why I think they get these different kind of singers, you know. And then do you see that like triple neck guitar the guy was playing?
Yeah.
Like,
so,
oh man, could you imagine like for a whole like 2-hour show having that thing hung over your neck?
Jeez. Yeah, if you didn't bring it up, I was going to bring it up. Like, do you think that would help or hinder your ability? Like, that was just like, can you imagine bringing that thing through customs? And then I was like,
oh, man.
would that help or hinder your efforts to like bring your cocaine along with you? Like, would the customs people be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're a musician, whatever, we'll let it slide? Or would you get like some hard-nosed guy that like wouldn't find your stash right away, but then would like flip open your enormous guitar case and be like, well, clearly there's cocaine going on here.
No. See, the way it works is you keep all the instruments totally clean. Right?
Yeah, I know, but like it would flag the entire party.
Right, but you put
a guitar with 3 necks. Like everybody would get like, you know.
Well, but what you do,
out a line.
Yeah, the way you get around that is you put all the cocaine in with the ice skaters.
Oh.
So all the musical stuff goes through as one thing, and then the ice skaters go through as another.
Genius.
You know, it's like, oh no, it's a, you know, pretty blonde ice skating lady. It's like, meanwhile, she's the one like muling all the coke to the next.
Yeah, she's got like a suitcase full of like leotards and then like
ice skates and
ice skates that are probably pretty sweaty and have like a funk to them, so it'll like throw off the dogs.
Yeah, or like some hockey equipment where they would like kind of be looking through about, oh well, hockey equipment, ice skating makes sense, checks out. No, actually, I don't think this is the kind of show that would really go on the road. And this is at Wembley, right? 1975.
Do you think this was just like a one-time,
like a residency kind of thing? Like,
oh, you know, yeah,
like 2 weeks, get your tickets for X night. You know,
this is the only time it's going to happen. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I could see that. All right.
I mean, I don't think Wembley's an ice skating place. So they had to turn it into an ice skating place for
isn't it
a couple of weeks.
Isn't it a tennis place? Like a
I
tennis
don't know.
stadium? Like I know they have, you know, legendary rock concerts there. I don't know if it's the same venue.
You know, I love punk rock, and punk rock was kind of a reaction to all this kind of stuff going on. You know, like, oh, come on, all this faffing about. And it's like, how much money did they spend on that production? And like the costumes, and it's cheesy. And me mum likes it. Even me mum likes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presentation and pretension.
Yeah. And, you know, getting like the cred with the old folks by having the Sir Richard whatever narrate it, you know.
Right.
Like, I mean, I get the reaction to it, but it's like, I don't know. In hindsight, can't we show a little appreciation for like these overblown productions of just like, it's like one of those things that could only happen in a certain time and place. You know, it's like we probably couldn't build the pyramids now, but it's cool that they did build them.
Right.
You know, it's cool that they're there now, you know. Anyways, you know, it's like there was probably a period in time where like this stuff
Right. But
was not going to be appreciated. But like now it's like, I don't know, it's got a story. Just like put on the headphones, sit in the egg chair, and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, enjoy the musical wonder.
Yeah. Get off TikTok and spend 50 minutes immersed.
Well, I don't think people have the attention span for that anymore.
So anyways, I included this one just because it's so like over the top. And I mean, like ice skaters, like the stage in the middle of the ice rink.
Yeah.
Like just, it's much too much. And Rick Wakeman just being Rick Wakeman. At least he wasn't wearing a cape like he did with Yes a lot of times.
That's true.
Oh, you would think in like a cold ice arena, you would want a cape.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're
maybe
the
like the director commandeered his cape, Guinevere.
Maybe.
Like, it'd be cool if the like helpers came and maybe that cape she was wearing was one of Rick's capes.
Maybe.
Like, oh, you know, it'd be cool instead of her just skating around. Like if, you know, her attendants like took the cape off her and put it back on
ladies in waiting.
Yeah. Anyways.
Moral of the story is, if your sister's a witch, don't piss her off because she'll curse your girlfriend into only being able to love your best friend.
Yeah. There's a chance that could happen anyways, but like, why tempt it?
Exactly.
Okay. So, yeah, with all the sheet music and stuff. And so do you remember when you were a kid, me having Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Of course. Yeah, I would listen to it.
Turning you on to it. Like, dude, this is like a whole story. It's like, be laying in our room with the light turned off and just like, it's bedtime. But like, dude, it's a story.
Yeah. If we listen to it quiet enough, Dad won't come in and make us
Mom and Dad
off.
won't come knock on the door. Time for bed.
Lights out. Lights are out.
Lights are out. We're just listening to Permanent Waves or
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
So, anyways, so the sheet music for Journey to the Center of the Earth, like the whole project was lost for a while, I guess.
Whoa.
But somehow somebody found it and returned it to Rick Wakeman. Like found it in some storage thing or something, or, you know, some record production company's archives or something. So they returned it to him, and in, I think, 2012, he did a reboot of the whole Journey to the Center of the Earth with some additional things that were not on the original album, because, you know, they had to put it on a record.
Right. So they couldn't.
So you're kind of limited. Yeah. So on Rick Wakeman's YouTube channel and probably other places, you can get the 2.0 version of Journey to the Center of the Earth. And they re-recorded everything, and he feels they made it better.
Okay.
So this is in the story where they've been a couple days without water, and they hear rushing water, and they break through some rock and find this river called the Hansbach. So this is the Hansbach from Rick Wakeman, Journey to the Center of the Earth, version 2.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, it took me back because it had some of the same little refrains in it.
Yeah,
and the
little
rest.
themes and
Yeah.
Yeah, like as I was prepping for the show, I was like, oh yeah, Journey to the Center of the Earth. They got to have Wakeman on here. And it's like, oh man, I wish Clark was over here for a sleepover or something. Like, because he has the whole thing on a playlist on YouTube, so you can just like hit play and like get the whole experience. But yeah, next time you're up here, we'll hang out in the studio here and put it on the big speakers.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, it's probably partly like the album artwork and some other stuff, but like I always have like an affinity for like Journey to the Center of the Earth type stuff, like subterranean mushroom forests and underground oceans and stuff, like hidden worlds.
Another literary series I was thinking would make a really cool Prague adaptation is Edgar Rice Burroughs' Pellucidar.
Yeah.
That's almost even kind of cooler than Journey to the Center of the Earth. Well, no, it is cooler.
Yeah. Or think about this, dude. Because it's like, that's like speculative fiction or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it does have like dirigibles and stuff in it, which is always cool. But hear me out. Edgar Rice Burroughs. Rock musical, John Carter on Mars. You get the Mars thing.
Yeah.
You could do like the Peter and the Wolf, like Charles Tarkus has his own theme. John Carter's got his own theme.
Right. Yeah, that could be cool too.
Like, think about how much like ice arena, like ethereal faffing about you could do about Deja Thoris.
Oh yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Do you know that book Journey to the Mushroom Planet?
Probably.
Since we're on the whole literary thing. Yeah, Eleanor Cameron, The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet.
Whoa.
Dude. Completely awesome. The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet. Don't miss the adventures of Chuck and David, two boys who traveled to the alien planet Basidium in their homemade spaceship. This timeless series is a classic that is sure to be read over and over again. 1954, first published.
Yeah, I see she had a beef with Roald Dahl, though. So.
Oh.
I don't know. You know where my loyalty's going to lie.
Yeah. Maybe it was a lover's spat or something.
Maybe.
Or maybe she was a little too, like, plain in her writings or something for him.
I don't think she liked how cheeky Roald Dahl was sometimes.
Could be. Yeah, it's pretty wholesome, but it's pretty rad. And these two boys like build a spaceship in their garage. It's like total 50s, like Popular Mechanics kind of thing, and end up going to this mushroom planet, and yeah, it's really good. I'm pretty sure it's on LibriVox.
Yeah, like the Lotus Caves. We talked about that, Don Christopher. Like, what was the name of that, like, 70s, or probably even 60s, like, young youth sci-fi it was like a journey to the center of the earth thing, but like it was like two brothers and a dad, or like the dad was a scientist, and like they discover like a warring factions like near the center of the earth, and like all their technology is made out of diamonds and stuff. Do you remember those books?
No, it sounds familiar, but yeah, I can't remember what that was.
You know, it was written for kids, but like and like completely hokey premise, but like it was still pretty cool and like totally captured your imagination. Like, or the vehicles were called moles. I can't remember.
Yeah, they're like a drill. They're basically like a drill ship kind of thing. Yeah, what were those called?
Like, speaking of groovy science fiction, you know, Del Rey Publishing. You may have heard of some of these names: Piers Anthony, Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Terry Brooks.
Oh, okay. So it was like a Penguin books kind of thing, but it was all sci-fi stuff.
Arthur C. Clarke, Philip K. Dick.
Okay,
Yeah. Robert Heinlein. Yeah, maybe Larry Niven. You probably heard of some of them. They also had the rights to publish Lord of the Rings, but
you may have heard of a few of these authors, dear reader.
Yes. But yeah, the founder. It's
supposed to be a music podcast.
The founder was. Yeah, if you ever need a hero, like, or a new hero, like, look up Judy Lynn Del Rey. Like, what a rad lady.
Okay. So that completes our playlist. Do you have any leanings?
I would.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah. So that was a thing I was going to mention with John Lord, because we have Rick Wakeman. You know, like, you have two Rick Wakeman songs. I have two Jeff Wayne songs. That doesn't mean that they're twofers.
But they kind of almost are.
They kind of almost are. But there's the reason why Deep Purple doing Highway Star and John Lord's performance on that song isn't a twofer is because both of us chose that exact song and that exact video. So, like,
so John Lord's on there.
Yeah, he's our twofer.
Instead of listening to the same song twice.
Our lock. Yeah. But it's like we both picked that exact same thing. So, yeah. So John Lord is on there.
Yeah.
He's our only lock.
And I don't mind putting Rick and Jeff both up there. I mean, they're like two birds in the same nest. Other than, you know, Rick Wakeman was also in Yes. He also played on a lot of David Bowie's albums. He just, you know, he was around. So I think Rick belongs up there.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Rick and John. I don't mind Jeff Wayne being up there. I mean, War of the Worlds is not the only thing he ever did, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So, like, who's number 4? Like,
well, I know you're not a prog guy, but I really do think Keith Emerson belongs up there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's like I wouldn't really feel comfortable having Jerry Lee Lewis up there if Little Richard wasn't also up there. Like, I know he's our honorable mention, but it's like,
right,
like, yeah, those guys are definitely like two peas in the same pod.
Same pod.
Like,
yeah. Well, kind of. They're different, but yeah.
They're different, but they're also that kind of showy get up and stand.
Right.
While you're playing, and
you're not at a recital.
Yeah, you're a wild man.
Yeah.
Keyboard player.
Clutch those pearls. This recital's about to kick off.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So John, Keith, Rick. I know we're going to put Jeff up there.
Yeah, let's see.
Man,
Let's see what else he's done.
Billy Payne's pretty great. Yeah, the rest of these are kind of little bit oddballs. Ian McLaughlin's cool. I'm just the piano intro and Stay With Me. I mean that earns you some legendary status.
Jeff Wayne wrote the music for the 1984 album Beyond the Planet. Kevin Peake and Rick Wakeman's progressive rock recording of Holst's orchestral suite.
Okay, since those guys are such two peas in a pod.
Well,
and
okay.
Since we
first of all, we need to track down Beyond the Planet because we got to hear Rick Wakeman's progressive rock recording of Holst's Planets.
Okay,
so pin in that, and then in 1992. Wayne released Jeff Wayne's musical version of Spartacus.
Whoa.
His first major release since War of the Worlds. Its cast included Anthony Hopkins, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, and Marillion's Fish.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, talk about Prague. Okay. Since those guys are such two peas in a pod, kind of doing the same shtick, and since it's got the literary thing and the musical thing, like, why don't we have them like together as our crazy horse?
Oh, okay. Under the same cape, if you will.
Or like standing across from each other, like being all wizardy and stuff.
Right.
So what do you think about that? Those two as our
crazy horse.
As our crazy horse.
Okay, so then then who's the
Well, so then we got John Lord and Keith Emerson.
Yeah.
And then we got two more spots.
Right.
So we could put Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis up there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got two great rock and roll piano players. You got these crazy virtuoso keyboard organ players. And then on the back, you have like these musical escapade wizards, like
synth wizards
pulling full shenanigans and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So Little Richard's going to be an honorable mention from both of us last minute.
Yeah.
Because here on the Hear Me Out Bro podcast, we're all about equality.
Well, and we also like forget because we're both old.
Because we're dumb.
Dude,
yeah.
Little Richard, why did you forget Little Richard? Like,
and he's not just a piano player. Like, I remember seeing Jimmy Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that organ player sure looks like Little Richard.
Yeah, yet another like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have Little Richard play piano for me and Linda Ronstadt sing backup.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Stevie Nicks drive me to the theater. Like, what? Who are you?
All right. That's our Rushmore.
Yep.
So Jerry Lee, Little Richard, Keith Emerson, John Lord, and then Wakeman and Wayne on the back.
Space wizard.
Yeah. Getting crazy. Getting crazy on ice.
All right. So what's next week?
Next week is our dream fantasy football supergroup. Who would you pair with who? If you were a producer putting an album together and you wanted to like get all these same people in the same room in a recording studio to
Right.
just like collaborate and do their thing, what would you want to hear?
Okay. Because I'm thinking like there's a lot of like Jeff Wayne's musical version of the War of the Worlds or Butterfly's Ball or
that's another thing I wanted to talk about.
What was the thing where quick one while he's away came from? The musical circus or whatever. Like what was that?
Oh, yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, there's a bunch of like, big collabs like that.
Yeah. So like a big collab where it's like, you know, you're a producer and you've got like all these phone numbers and you're going to put together this opus. So I think we should have
it doesn't have
our
to be
picks.
an opus either.
I think
it could be anything.
Right, but like what I'm saying
doesn't have to be Butterfly's Ball.
Well, I agree.
Or
that as much as I want to love that, I can't. But here's the thing, like we can't just be like, oh, I want this guy, I want this person, I want this lady, I want, like we can't just like have our picks. We have to have the description of the project too.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, while we're assembling, like the reason we're assembling this like team of Avengers.
Are we going to pick in an order? Like maybe start with singer?
Yeah. Might as well just do it in the order that we
in the same order we ran
the Rushmore episodes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do our picks.
Yeah. So we pick our singer, pick our guitar player, pick our drummer, pick our bass player, pick our keyboard player.
Yeah. And then we're also going to, well, I mean, we already kind of did as we went along, but we're also going to talk a little bit about some of those bands that were like almost pretty much all selected.
Right. And then I think we should, keeping the theme, like here's what I think we should do. We should have our picks, talk briefly about why we picked them, and then like have the project, but then we should also have like yet another Crazy Horse, or like we have
a Crazy Horse band.
Well, we have our 5 picks for like the main musicians.
Oh, like a guest artist that would come in and play on like one or two songs.
Ding. Yes.
Okay. So
Crazy Horse is
available.
Wild card bonus. So it's like, I'm going to, I picked, I don't know, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace as my project, for lack of a better thing. And like, here are all my picks for like the guitar solo, Duel of the Fates. Like, I have Jimi Hendrix and, guest guitar player on the project, like come in to like, face off.
Cool.
Or like, it's like the musical version of Spartacus or whatever. And there's like the love interest.
Yeah. Or like we have Stop Dragging My Heart Around. It's basically Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but you have Stevie Nicks singing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have somebody come in to sing a duet or like, what have you. Or you have like, it's the musical Lord of the Rings and like, you have Rick Wakeman and Jeff Wayne.
And then all of our Middle Earth people from the bass episode.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of bass players.
Yeah, it's all bass players. No, but you have the two synth wizards dueling at Orthanc.
Oh man. Okay. I do have a concern. Well, it's not a concern, but another thing to discuss. So since we're just picking people that probably haven't played together, what do you want to do? Play playlist-wise for that episode? Do you want to pick examples of our picks, like doing their thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it.
Okay. I also have something to some spaghetti to throw on the wall to see if it sticks. I would like to have Bad Company's Rock and Roll Fantasy kick off the playlist.
Absolutely.
It's all part of my rock and roll fantasy. Yeah. Okay, that'll get us in the mood for our picks.
I like it.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Hopefully there weren't too many meanderings and tangents and weird food metaphors. Hopefully we didn't ice skate too much.
Yeah, and if you're like, oh man, they should just talk about books all the time, shoot us an email.
Yeah.
There's nothing distinctly musical in Hear Me Out, Bro. So
it's true. We could swap it out for book.
Yep. And also, like, we don't get a lot of emails, but I'm going to tell everybody, like, this is your chance. If you want to tell us your fantasy groups, if you want to tell us what idiots we were because we didn't include so-and-so on such and such,
let us know.
This is your chance. We'll read it on the show. We'll read it on the next episode. So, if reach out.
If there's been any point where you've been yelling at your earbuds, why did you forget my sacred ox?
We'll air it out on the show.
Yeah,
we're not scared. We'll air it out. So send us your dirty laundry to hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, tell us why our laundry is dirty.
Yes.
All right. Thanks again for listening.
Bye.
See ya.
Checking out music with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no? Here we go on with the show, the Hell Bro Podcast.
I'm not very proud of getting done for drunk driving. I've been teetotal for 8.5 years now, nearly 9 years. But cut a boring long story short, I used to be the chairman of a local football team, Camberley Town Football Club. And my Saturdays used to be playing golf in the morning, going off having a curry, going down to the football club, watching them lose. They lost every week. And then come back home. Well, it's one thing. I like to keep things even in my life. And then I'd had my game of golf, pretty nasty round. Went out a pretty fierce curry, quite a serious one. You get good ones and ones that work.
What happened to this bit about cutting long stories short? What happened to that?
I haven't gone through the 18 holes of the golf club, have I? Yeah. So I arrived down to football.
I'll put a clock on this.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
We arrived down to football. I think we lost 7-0. It's a good result for us. And then afterwards, I'm in the little committee room talking, and then I felt the curry working, which is always a bit of a worry. My house is only about a mile from the football ground, so I get in the car, and an old gold roll at the time, so I'm driving up the road, and line of traffic, there's the old policeman there with his old radar gun, but everybody's going the same speed, but he points at me, I'm in. Right, so I'm half a mile from my house now in a little cul-de-sac. Pulls me in, he asked, he said, "You've been to Camberley Town Football Club?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Have you had a drink?" I said, "Yeah." Right, so I had to blow in this thing, and I failed. See? Now, he was on a motorbike. He said, "I've called for a pounder car to come round and take us." I said, "OK, fine." So I'm standing, and the curry starts working. Right, and I'm standing on the pavement. There's all the people out in the house going, "Oh, look, I've nicked him." Not nice. And I'm standing there, and I said, "Excuse me, officer." I said, "I'm having a bit of a problem, a bit of a fierce curry, a bit of a stomach problem." I said, "The police station's only 50 yards away. Couldn't we walk to it?" And he said, "No chance." He said, "No chance, son." He said, "We'll wait for the car." So I'm saying, I'm in agony. Another police bike pulls up, and I know this guy, and I told him the situation, and he says, "I'll have a word with this." So this other policeman actually puts me in an arm lock, right? And he marches me over to this woman's house. He says, "Right, we'll accommodate." So he goes there. There's this woman on the door. He said, "Do you have a downstairs toilet?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm commandeering this for the use of our prison." So I go in there. I've got my Camberley Town blazer on, the old full bit, and he goes in there and he inspects the... I don't know if I was going to do, like, creep out the U-bend and, like, disappear. No, it's not funny. I mean, all I wanted to do was send a little sausage to the seaside. And I go in there... he says, "In you go." So I go in there, and I'm sitting there. I go to shut the door, and he puts his boot in the door. He says, "You're not shutting the door, son." So, OK, fine, you can stand it. I can't. So I'm sitting there... Absolutely true. I'm sitting there with my stripes down by my ankles, my Camberley Town blazer on, right, in a stranger's toilet, having a bit of a, you know, I've been done for drunk driving, and I'm at a size 14 boot in the door, and I'm thinking, well, nothing else can happen. And at that moment, through the gap of the door came the Journey to the Centre of the Earth album cover. And this woman's voice said, will you sign this for my son, Jeffrey? Oh, believe me.